Okay, good evening, everybody. It is not too far away from my normal start time. It would have actually been right on the dot, save for the fact that I made a dinner that was very close to being something that I could put into some kind of a weapon and use to burn down an enemy's house. It was very hot, so I thought I would take my time and to be diplomatic about it, I would say savor it, to be honest, not completely burn my mouth. So, we're back to Stellaris, and it has been a little while since I've done this. Obviously, I did a special stream last week for my birthday. It's been kind of an unfortunate week for a month for Stellaris, just because between the Canadian holiday, my birthday, there's been more excuses than usual to to sort of set the game aside. But I'm very determined to finish this, and I also really do want to get back to Imperator. I've been trying to work on some of the special events that I had planned for it, and obviously there is the new Pompeii update, which has been out for a while, and so it seems as good of a time as any to kind of go back to the game and see what they've added. But unfortunately, I'm really feeling the crunch in terms of time. So it's Stellaris tonight. I figure I might as well work with what I've got, and I will find a way to get Imperator in the rotation on its own. There's sort of a revealed preference so far as people watching in terms of what they want to see, and that's totally fine. I mean, Imperator was an unknown quantity at the time that it was released, and so I think people wanted to see what it was like. Once it was released, I think a lot of people made their decision that it wasn't for them, which is a little weird. I mean, it's a very well-selling, like the game sold well from what I understand, and reviewed very well. And personally, I rather like it. I sort of understand where some people's disappointment came from, but my estimation of the game is really no different than when I first played it. It had some things that I wish were a little bit different, but by and large, I rather enjoyed Imperator, and I'm looking forward to continuing to see what happens to it. But that doesn't. It's one of these things where I never play a game that I am not interested in playing. But I am somewhat conscious of the fact that I can't get a little too navel-gazy in terms of the types of games that I play. So, for instance, The Walking Dead. I really enjoyed getting through to the end of Season 2. It's the first time I had played and seen Season 2. And I thought that was really worthwhile, but the fact of the matter is, anybody who really wants to see The Walking Dead Season 2 has already done so. It has been on sale so many times that anybody who's going to spend money to have that experience has likely done so. Obviously, it'll still sell, but it's not going to get any cheaper. And so, essentially, it's either going to be people who specifically want to see me play that game, or it's going to be people who want to see someone play The Walking Dead Season 2, and the fact of the matter is there's not that many people, and so I'm not opposed to doing more narrative-style games. I will be doing more of them, more at least Telltale-style games in the future, but I am also going to be doing that as sort of a special thing that is set aside from a regular. So I wouldn't do it 3 times a week or 2 times a week or something like that. That would get sort of its day. I'd I'd enjoy it. Viewer counts aren't everything, but I obviously, in terms of, especially relative to other streams that you do, when fewer people are watching a given game, it's usually a pretty good signal that it's not something, either, it's not something I do well, or it's simply something that people aren't interested in. And unfortunately, as much as I like Imperator, I'm not really sure that I add enough to that game at the moment to make people sort of reconsider their fairly strong views on it. And again, that won't be something that I use as an excuse never to cover the game. But in terms of making a decision between an existing Stellaris playthrough that I have and a new run of Imperator with the updated patch, it's it's a definitely something that weighs in favor of continuing on with the Stellaris run. Plus, of course, I mean, in the case of both games, right, it's a key that Paradox has given me, and so I do need to try and make sure that I'm sort of covering it to a level that I think is consistent with receiving a press key like that. So both of them I've put a lot of time into, but obviously the Stellaris expansion is the more recent one, so we are carrying on. All of that, by the way, is mostly just an opportunity to get some bodies inside the chat. So quick aside in terms of upcoming things for the stream, I did manage to knock out an Elder Scrolls episode. I actually had to do that last night, so I wound up having a much later night than I was expecting. But we've got another one of those in the can, so there will be one for Tuesday, and I think that makes me cautiously optimistic that I'm going to be able to carry it for the foreseeable future. I think I'm going to be able to get a few more extra episodes in the bag. Less clear as to whether or not I'm going to have another Surviving Mars episode, but I'm going to do my absolute best to record that tomorrow. And as always, those updates will happen on Twitter, and then of course I'll put those online. You'll get the notification if you're subscribed to the stream and have turned on notifications. And if you wind up missing it, of course, there will always be a YouTube video. So last round we made a few changes to our strategy, and then we also set up a new priority. So at the moment, I still have a technological edge. My economic base is very weak compared to my next largest rivals, particularly something like the Zathoran Confederation. The time where we're being nice to each other is going to be rapidly coming to a close because the Angonj nation is going to collapse. They're either going to be vassalized or they're going to be swallowed up. And so I need to start preparing for a world in which these superpowers are closer to my doorstep. And we had some plans in terms of setting up new star bases and such, but I played this a little while ago, and so I've forgotten all of them. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be reviewing the situation that we find ourselves in. We'll be sort of forging a bit of a plan for the next few years, and we will see what we can accomplish. One big thing I know is that we do have the ability to terraform worlds, and so I want to make sure that I'm taking advantage of that. I also think I had a fleet blueprint. Yes, I do. Obviously, we've got quite a bit of unused capacity in terms of our shipyards, almost 100 units, or 100 fleet power worth. It's a little less, but that's something I want to keep in mind. I mean, I've got 80. It's specifically 89, and I need to find a proper way to sort of divide the numbers. I don't believe I went into the fleet designer to... Oh, right, no, of course I didn't here, because this is the Titan. These guys are being upgraded. So I actually have a whole host of options available to me now that I think of it. But let's not worry about the Navy too much right now. They're going to be doing their upgrades. We did make some progress towards improving my alloy generation, and of course, as the Navy gets larger, some of that is going to be going towards maintenance, so I want to continue to aggressively pursue alloy production as well as science. And we're doing okay as far as consumer goods are concerned. That'll probably fall off the edge pretty quickly, especially once I start doing some more research worlds. But of course, once I start specializing on research worlds as well, I'm going to be giving back some of those costs. I don't believe we do have one tech world, actually. So Tech World will give a 20% reduction to upkeep costs for scientists. Of course, the important thing is that this Tech World doesn't necessarily have a larger population of scientists than anyone else. So a few of the things that we're going to be focusing on over time is to transform our basically non-alpine worlds into alpine worlds. That'll be helping us out with our habitability. And then eventually we're sort of at a point now where some of our worlds have finally got the level of population that we were looking for. And so what we're going to be doing is switching around some of the buildings to make sure that we can shift let's say, consumer goods production onto one world and reap the specialization benefits from that. Same deal with research, same deal with alloy, and whatnot. But it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of distributed manufacturing, just because if something really bad happens during a war, obviously you don't want your only source of an important strategic good to be cut off. So that's going to be a slower procedure, and more importantly, like, I obviously can't completely transform the planet's workforce into what I need overnight. So it's going to be a slower process. Now, as far as expansion is concerned, I have more or less sewed up this area, given the fact that there is a fallen empire, so nobody's really going to be messing with that. This is essentially mine for the taking. And we were talking about choke points. I believe Aculum is my main goal here. If I can take Aculum, that's going to stop access to sort of all of what I consider to be sort of my main holdings. Of course, I don't want to just stop there. I'd ideally like to start taking some of these other worlds, but the important thing is I don't know what's here yet. I don't know what's defensible in these locations. So Aculum, in addition to having the exotic gases, which will help my technology, is a very defensible position. I can start setting up some really nasty defenses and forts, put some fleets there and whatnot. The challenge, of course, is that will mean that we have a border dispute with a very powerful neighbor, the Zathorian Confederation. But that's the way the game goes. I mean, at some point, I'm gonna have to justify my presence. Militarily, one of the things I'd like to work on is trying to get to a point where we can take out the Wraith. The Wraith is my highest priority because right now Vite is something that, in theory, the Aztani trade union would be able to take from me. I think one of the main reasons why they're not able to take it is just simply the fact that they know that declaring war on me will bring the Kenti trade union in. So I'd ideally like to take out the Wraith so that I can reclaim the system, kind of get my empire back in order. And then in addition to that, I would like to go after the Grand Dragon so that we can take the Polygar system and, get the special artifact. But of course, that's going to involve quite a bit of investment in terms of my military. I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. The other thing I'm not 100% clear on is when the resubscription is going to be coming up. So it looks like we got 2,800 days. So we just recently redid Patron of the Arts. Looks like we got Curator Insight coming up fairly soon. So I think at the moment here, I'm going to sit on my energy reserves until we wind up in a better position as far as our finances are concerned. So, as was usually the case, we want to try and maximize our alloy production. That's going to allow us a little bit more flexibility in terms of our navies. I want to try and double down on science. That is going to be the way that I'm going to overcome some of these stronger enemies. I do need to keep an eye on my trade, basically just make sure that I don't have too many scary red skulls. This is going to become a problem when I start colonizing a few other worlds. And then as far as building stations are concerned, obviously we've got some really tasty worlds in the area here. There's no longer really a reason for me to take these in the name of sort of farming colonies and whatnot. But obviously I want to start getting some more people working tiles, just generally increasing my overall productive capacity. It's going to have a high empire sprawl, but as long as I'm generating enough resources to sort of justify the expense, it still takes us ahead. So, unless there's anything immediately pressing, I believe we can get away with unpausing. Okay, commercial pact invitation. Kenti Trade Union has entered into a commercial pact with the Sun. All right. The Kenti. Where are the Kenti? Ah, yes, these are my allies. So generally it's more advantageous to me when everybody's sort of fighting each other, but in this particular case here, I am in a defensive pact with these guys, so it's probably better that they're not taking on too many strong allies.
System resources
or enemies.
analyzed.
There is sort of a side of me that wants to go down this path more. One of our robot slaves was sold on the slave market. Final price, 500 energy.
Analyzed.
I was not aware that we had a slave market. I'm okay with it, though.
Construction complete.
Lots of sales. Okay, fair enough. Through hard work and experience, scientist Tupra Tislia has developed new skills. Strong energy emissions of an unknown origin make this asteroid stand out from the rest of its peers in the crowded asteroid field. I am... I'm curious if it's because some of these are surplus to requirements. I'm going to let it run by for now. I do rather wish the game would tell me where they were sold, but... Strong energy emissions from an unknown origin make this asteroid stand out from the rest of our peers in a crowded asteroid field. And then let's figure out... I actually need to make a decision in terms of what's happening with this guy. I think we're just going to push ahead towards our goal. But it would not be the worst thing to figure out what I'm paying to get there. So if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alternatively, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I'm probably not going to do a big long snake like this, but it seems like there's one very clear choice. Of course, I have just spent a bunch of money on upgrading my fleet, so I'm not actually going to be able to build that base yet. Alright, I am running out of things for my colonizers to do, or my construction ships to do, so let's... I don't think there's anything in my borders that I need to build. Oh, yes there is. And I think once that's done, we can start thinking about where my biggest gains are in terms of taking certain territories, because we're obviously going to be fighting with the military for the extra alloys. I'm mildly concerned about the consumer goods suddenly going into a negative, but that there could be a few different reasons for that. I also seem to remember I used to have some trades going. But really, I should be at this point, I should be self-sufficient in terms of all of my goods. Exotic radiation. This particular asteroid is an extrasolar capture, and it appears to have been washed by some kind of exotic radiation, as it plummeted through the interstellar space before finally settling in the Dirham system. The original source of this radiation remains unknown, but the ISS JAL Imikun has been able to pick up a wealth of physics data by studying the asteroid's energy emissions. Okay, they know what to do without me telling them, so I'm happy with that.
System resources analyzed.
An unusually deliberate geometric configuration of minerals drifts through the debris belt by A1LT47, and is probably of alien origin. I should also figure out, I know there was a Dathnak mission. Yes. So someone is bringing Chakbi home. So I hate these guys, but I believe we're at some kind of we're still in some kind of a truce, so I don't believe I'm able to kick them out. We have got... Actually, it's just a year before we can go to war with them. Now, whether I have the influence and the ability to claim more territory from them, a nice little bonus would be to take this. Taking this system in particular would just give me, you know, it would give me a defensible position. The other species would be able to divide up the nation however they wanted. I mean, in theory, I could, if I wanted to properly extend out my borders, the only one that would give me any real worry as far as choke points are concerned would be this. But I could even just, go up to Abshola. The problem is that to actually try and take all of that as part of a, like a series of claims, that would be pretty incredible as far as my influence costs are concerned. Now, unfortunately, I still haven't got a good answer in terms of what to do with mineral wealth. I simply have too much of it. So in this case, we will sell off a cool 5,000, ridiculously depress the price. I think there's probably something to a strategy that actually makes you underinvest in minerals and and you just buy them on the open market. The problem is that I actually find it very hard to underproduce minerals. Careless pawing. According to a report from the the crew of the ISS Jal Imikun, their mission was a failure. Science officer Tupra Tislia allegedly took manual control of the probe sent to retrieve a sample from the cluster, resulting in a collision between the drone and the mineral cluster that, while mild, resulted in the mineral cluster breaking apart completely. The crew is careful to note that the experience has left science officer Tupra Tislia somewhat shaken, and that the mineral shards should still be of some value. So its parts are equal to the sum of its parts. They gain the carefree trait, or they gain the Akano High Kingdom finds such carelessness unacceptable. Gain 50 experience, but they gain the stubborn trait. So let's see what happens. I think I am going to do the parts are equal to the sum of the parts, but this may have consequences. I'd be very interested to see whether or not we can actually... This barren and lifeless world is showing signs of once having supported a biosphere. I'm interested to see if we can actually afford the starbase. Let's see who gets the resources first. So we got 3 cruisers. The Kenti Trade Union broke their migration treaty. Okay, so it looks like things are not as happy anymore. The Sondrithian allied planets. I believe these are someone I should be worried about. So they say, let us end this charade. They have just declared me a rival. Now they are overwhelming. I'm going to do something unexpected here. So the fact that we have mutual rivals and I've not declared a rivalry on them yet, potentially works to my advantage. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to try opening the borders to get that opinion up, and we'll see if they rescind the threat. I can always close the borders again later. The Kenti Trade Union broke their migration. Okay, so that's my ally breaking the migration pact with them. We've received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that call themselves the Ketling Star Pack. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire that we are in contact with. They're an Irenic bureaucracy federation builders. They are egalitarian pacifists and materialists. Akanos, this is Shlokta Kyuche of the Far Mines. We are the pack. We are the synod. We are many working as one. For centuries we have tunneled deep in the glow-warm ash of our fallen keepers. The great blasts took them, but the warm glow that followed opened our minds. Their bodies fed us. Their machines surrounded us. We have taken all that we can from the depths. We have outgrown our cages yet again. Are you allies? Are you threats? A million eyes are watching. Are they in my space? Nope, they're their own species. Okay. Let's say we will not be held back, Ketlings. So there's going to be something that makes them mad, but in this case we'll at least do the materialist angle. Actually, technically, xenophobia, I guess they're a little indifferent on that, so we care not for your frivolous morality. Kenti trade union broke off the commercial star pact. Okay, so it's pretty clear that stuff's going to go down with these guys. Let's see. I don't think there's going to be any chance of us getting into a defensive pact, unfortunately. They're currently at war with the Andgoj nation. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty unlikely that this will work, but this would definitely secure my position against the Sondrithian allied planets in a way that I couldn't. Now, let's see what's going on here. This is not the overwhelming group that causes me a concern, but I want just a quick peek at what their tech is like. So level 2 plasma accelerators, medium disruptors. So this is a pretty vicious little combination because it eats through just about everything. I'm actually not sure what the answer to that is. Probably just a more balanced approach than what we have right now. But we'll keep an eye on it. Again, this is just reinforcing the fact that I really do need to be investing in my military. I'm slightly weirded out by the fact that my naval capacity seems to have changed, but... Nakano, we no longer wish your ships to move through our pack space. Be gone! Our detailed survey of Breek 1 has revealed that it may once have supported life in the distant past. There are significant deposits of frozen water at the polar ice caps beneath the planet's surface. The existence of valley networks suggests that water may once have flowed freely. Terraforming the planet would theoretically be possible, but we do not yet possess the technology to accomplish this monumental task within a realistic time frame. So... okay, well... fascinating. I want to see if I can find a comparable world within my own borders, because I get that event a lot, but I'm not 100% sure what it takes. Okay, so I lost my admiral. So this sort of stuff I kind of understand because it's already colonizable. I guess I just need to remember. I'll figure it out.
Construction finalized.
Okay, as usual, just prioritize building up the resources before expanding out because I do need some of those points for the...
System resources analyzed.
I need some of those points for the... okay. I need to make sure that the fleet gets taken care of, and the... actually, looks like I can afford it, so we'll head out. Is there anybody else who's idling by? Once that's done, I need to start thinking about what my next few upgrades will be.
We will build a brighter future.
Alright, Advanced Railgun, a new version of the venerable railgun. With sturdier rails and an enhanced power supply, these weapons are even more powerful and accurate than their predecessors. So, again, we usually go for the cheapest tech, but if there's something particularly tasty... Still 109 months for living metal. I think that's a little too much for for me. We definitely have better guns. I think in this case, though, I'm going to go for the inexpensive hull points. And I think we'll do a slight shuffle in terms of the staff because Sobak is good at this type of research. They're actually good at that type of research twice over. So I'm gonna leave myself to amassing the alloys because I don't immediately need all of these ships. But what I am gonna start doing is filling up the this tactical readiness fleet. Also, it looks like a few people are closing the gap technologically on us, which is causing me a bit of a concern. That's depressing. Okay, so apparently there's a better version of this ship that came out while we were waiting. All right, I'll live with that. I'm going to hope that this works. I'm going to hit the reinforce fleet button.
System resources analyzed.
So we'll see what's left. It should tell me when the
upgraded.
It should tell me when all the work is done. I can do an upgrade, but I'll leave it for now. And it is incredibly tempting. Let me just get a quick idea here. So we're going to need at least 5,000 for the curators in a little over a year. But I think what I'm going to start doing is let's just get a quick look at what I can do terraforming wise. This is already an Alpine world. I'm happy with that. The Arctic world. It'll cost me 2,000 to turn that into Alpine, so I'm happy with that. So I'm feeling particularly risky. Nah, 5,000 is too much. And this is just a colony, so it's kind of hard for me to justify that kind of expenditure right now. But obviously, I'm going to switch over. If I can turn this from an ocean world into an Alpine world, I'll be pretty happy. For now, though, we'll keep something in reserve and make sure that we're able to pay for our upgraded research, because that is going to be the thing that stops us from being smashed to pieces. I'm also just keeping an eye in terms of relative strength of different fleets. So, like, this fleet is not particularly strong. I also have a feeling that it's not very representative of what I'm up against. If they're superior fleet power and they've got a 47k fleet hanging on the border somewhere, I'm going to assume that there's something nastier just waiting for me around the corner. But part of the plan behind upgrading my fleets are to try and tilt some of these people back into inferior so that I can get some claims on them if I'm so inclined. Obviously, being able to vassalize this guy would be a pretty strong benefit. What are we looking at the shipyard here? So it looks like it's just building a bunch of corvettes, which is okay, but I would also really like it if they could improve the number of destroyers available. So yeah, it looks like we're getting...
Special inquiry concluded.
Small rodent-like creatures known as the Orinthi are native to Darmag's frontier, where their natural habitat extends across most of the moon's surface by diverse climatic regions. They breed at an extremely rapid rate and seem to have particular fondness for chewing on electric cables. Procuring specimens was not a problem. In fact, after the initial creatures were collected, more of them made their way onto the ISS JAL Imikun by hitching rides on the science ship's orbital shuttles. Exactly why the Museum of Exobiology requested Orinthy specimens remains a mystery. So we're still probably going to have a hard time fulfilling this one just because of the raiders. Obviously, we don't have a way through the Aztini Trade Union for two reasons. One, we've got the Wraith, and two, they don't like me.
Together we will build a brighter future.
Okay. This is a big one. Galactic Administration, Civic Slots +1. This is actually going to be a fairly big decision for us here. So we get the System Capital Complex. This is going to mean that I can do some pretty cool upgrades in a bit. The administrative needs of a star empire are as numerous as they are complex. We will rise to the occasion. And as always, we get our pick. I am going to prioritize some of the lower cost ones. And I've actually really pushed off artificial moral codes for a while. It's probably not the best reason that I've done so, simply because a 5% bonus to amenities is not something to be ignored, because a few of my worlds actually have negative amenities at the moment. Now again, that'll be fixed by some some investment in terms of changing the climate, but obviously it's a little over a year to get a 5% boost to my existing amenities is not something to pass up. Okay, let's start. I'm gonna start just by upgrading these, and I'm slightly curious if it's just the fact that it doesn't want to mix different ship types. So I'm gonna start by upgrading this fleet. I think I'm gonna skip the. Well, we'll see what it costs. I need to get the Grand Herald out of the stack as always before I upgrade. Oh yes, also I can upgrade the planetary capital, so that's priority number 1. Craxima. Now, Craxima, I had a list from last stream about what I wanted to do with a bunch of worlds, and of course I can't read any of my writing. I believe this one was going to get some energy first of all, and then I needed to figure out what else I wanted to do with it. So let's just get a quick look here. We've got alloys, we've got crystal mines, heritage site, bureaucratic complex. So at some point this is going to need some research. But I think probably the best thing for me to put down right now would be an energy grid. So that's going to give 1 technician job. So technically I only need 4. I actually only need 3 more, but we might as well knock out a couple more generator districts just because that'll get the most out of that percent-based bonus, and then we can be back on track. I figure this one's probably going to be due for... I'd probably want to build a research well, no, see, because I kind of want Kabji to become my intellectual center. So maybe I do wind up building a civilian fabricator or something like that. I'll give it a think. We don't actually need to make any decisions until the next turnover for that system. But in the best case scenario, the Kabji Prime system becomes my sort of my intellectual hub, and I start switching. Start switching some people over into tech jobs. So a great example of this would be Kabji Prime to convert the civilian industry into another research facility. Same story with the alloy foundries. The important thing, of course, is that I want to make sure that these things don't cannibalize some of my existing work. So like a perfect example here is right now Okul is an industrial world, and it makes a lot of sense as an industrial world right now, but if I'm getting a boost to research in this system, what I ultimately want to do is start generating consumer goods on one of these other worlds. Let's actually just take a quick look. Did I assign... Yeah, so we've got an industrial world here already, actually. So maybe what I want to be doing, once this guy's sorted out, I get another consumer goods factory here, and I start converting this civilian industry into a research center. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. How's it going, Ben Marshall? Oh yes, and the civic point, the whole reason why I got that. So we can reform the government. We currently have Byzantine bureaucracy and Philosopher King. We can get Corvée system, cutthroat politics, distinguished admiralty. Distinguished admiralty will give me an edge in combat, which I sort of need at the moment, but let's see if we can do something else with that. We can get a bonus to the administrative cap. I mean, we've kind of left orbit as far as as far as our sprawl is concerned. So I'm not 100% sure 22 administration is the strongest argument. My consumer goods upkeep must be getting, yeah. I mean, that's kind of a free 20 consumer goods right there. Doing good. Why does it say I'm playing Nowhere Profit? It should say I'm playing Stellaris. Thank you for letting me know about that. Let me just get that changed. I'll have to adjust the I'm gonna have to adjust the VOD after the fact, but great, yeah. One of the things that's changed recently is I've started using a more modern streaming program. But the one drawback is that it does have an integration in terms of like updating all of my stream information. I've always been a little worried that it doesn't actually do the change, and it's important to make sure that you're tagged up properly. So in this case, it really is Stellaris. Thank you again. Thank you for pointing that out. I've been streaming for 45 minutes under the wrong ID. So hopefully some more people will decide that it's worth checking out. But yeah, I do usually do Stellaris every Monday. It's specifically a Paradox Monday, but Stellaris has been the thing that I've been working on for a while. I've had it was either a very good start or a very tough start, depending on how wide of a picture you want to look at it. Essentially, because there weren't a lot of neighbors, it let the AI take advantage of all of its bonuses sort of unchecked, and now I've got some very powerful entities which don't necessarily wish the best for me, but we'll see if I can get through in the end. Yeah, no problem. You want to come and check me anyway. The name of the game was interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think Stellaris. There's two things I like about Stellaris. Actually, there's more than two, but one thing that I think is great about the game is it's a wonderful. I don't believe there are any humans in this one. There's a couple of species that we haven't found yet, but I believe everything in the galaxy right now is. We got a few humanoids, so this is in the humanoids pack. But I believe everything else is. I actually think there's only one humanoid. Well, I mean, I'm dwarf, so there's in total. I think there's two humanoids. Nope, three humanoids. And actually, I think these are humanoids. So four. Of course, these are marauders, so I don't actually want to try and ally with them. I don't think we found the Sol system yet. Let me just check. No. So it's possible that Earth is kicking around here somewhere. If we take a look at the situation log, so we've yet to find 3 and 4 on the list. I'm starting to drop a little bit here, which is concerning me. I don't think there's a 14th, but we'll see. Yeah. So no United Nations or anything like that. But again, there are a couple of unknown species kicking around on the map here, and they're highly positioned. So I'm assuming we'll probably find them somewhere in here. But we'll see ourselves. But yeah, I know some of the reasons why I like Stellaris. One, I think it's a really good sort of gateway drug into Paradox style games, which, you know, I just like. The other thing that I think really works is it is like there's still all of the depth of all of the other Paradox games, but it is presented in a very straightforward manner. So it has all of the depth, but I think it's probably got some of the best in terms of the user interface. Some of the decisions they made on this one I thought were really efficient. And then the fact that it's not tied to history, it's a double-edged sword, because obviously playing something like Crusader Kings or Europa Universalis, you have all of this richness of history to play against, and that can create some interesting stories inside of your head. But this game has definitely done a really good job of knowing that there's really no way to do a space game without inventing your own, sort of your own world, and their decision... their decision as far as the how to answer the build a science fiction world really seems to have been, well, we're just going to throw everything at it, and people can decide, whatever they want to, they can make it whatever they want. And so as a result, you can do your favorites, species from Star Trek, or you can just go wild and look at some of the portraits and decide to make whatever you want, which is exactly what we did here. And I am no closer after that filibuster to deciding what I want. So police state is kind of tempting because of the extra unity, but it is enforcers that require it. So that's going to put a certain cap on me unless I want to invest in my my enforcement, and I just don't think that's the best use of my resources. I don't really need extra minerals at this point, so we're good on that. Mining guilds don't make a lot of sense. So it's really either the environmentalist for the bonuses towards my consumer goods, efficient bureaucracy to sort of reduce some of the penalties, or the distinguished admiralty for the bonuses towards attack. And in this case here, I think we did find the Titan in like the first 20 or 30 years. So let's say we've got a distinguished admiralty. The fleet and the admiralty have unusually prominent roles in this society, wielding a great deal of influence in political circles. They have their pick of the litter when it comes to new military recruits. 10% bonus to fire rate, admiral level cap +1, fleet command limit +10, and civics that do not fulfill all of the requirements. I'm just going to double check this. Environmentalist. Feudal society would have made sense if I could vassalize some people, but I'm not going to be vassalizing them anytime soon. So for now, we'll say distinguished admiralty, and we can always change later if I decide. And unfortunately, I savage my influence, but it'll be worth it. You found the Titan. Let's guess the great... Yes, that's exactly it. Obviously, that was a little more novel at the time. But unfortunately, it didn't really gain me that much because everybody's sort of built up their navies with enough sort of swarming ships to be able to overwhelm it. And like I said, the AI has sort of been able to take advantage of its percent-based bonuses for quite a long time. So I'm actually playing catch-up now, where normally I would have been bullying everyone into surrendering. We also had a little bit of bad luck in the sense that the Wraith popped up right in between... sort of the Aztani trade union, which I was sort of planning on gorging myself on. Our spies report that the Kenti trade union is close to possessing enough information about the L gates to unlock the one that they control. This would give them access to the L cluster and its secrets. If we are to get there first, we must double our efforts and find more insights to the L gates. We'll see who gets there first. They are an ally, so it's not terrible if they get there first, but I don't think I want to dedicate research towards it. I think we'll continue on our path to make sure that we'll make sure that we're maintaining our exploration. But I'm not going to, I don't think I'm going to sacrifice research roles. Okay, so I believe this is overcrowding? Yes. Now, I did say that I was going to continue down the path of an industrial world, so we will build civilian industries here. That will get me 2. In reality, I'll add more in terms of the artisan jobs. Obviously, I am going to need more in terms of the districts, though, so... City district will give me 6 housing, so that should cover me for this, sort of this generation. And the truth of the matter is I kind of need the city district more than I need the civilian industries, so we'll hang on that for now. And how are we doing for the crystals? I don't have enough rare crystals, so I'm going to need to find a source for new ones. VMAS eventually, but that'll take me a while.
Our research has progressed.
An updated shield generator that produces an even stronger energy field. Only sustained enemy fire can penetrate this barrier. Okay. Similar again, we're just going to go for whatever costs the least. It is tempting to eventually go for planetary shields, but it's really hard to pass up a better laser if we're worried about having to go to war at some point. So Ben, you're not going to like me for saying this, but it was actually the very first archaeology find that I got in the game. Johnny Big Time. The man, the myth, the legend, the man actually responsible for the species that we're playing right now. He is my favorite caster on Twitch. Thank you very much for not just 20 months, but 20 months in a row. That is 1 year and 2 quarters. Or, wait a minute, is that right? No, because quarters are 3. I am an idiot, sorry. 20 months in a row. Thank you very much for doing that. For those of you who don't know him, Johnny Big Time is my favorite caster on Twitch. He actually owns Stellaris. He got it through a Humble Bundle. It's not 100% his game, I think, due to the level of complexity, but I also don't think it completely turned him off the first time he played it. So if we hope really, really strongly, and if we ask him really nicely when he finishes The Witcher and all of the other games that he is going to entertain us with, maybe one day you'll be able to see him play Stellaris. I know it seems like it's LOL, this is a game for smart people. It's really just a matter of, like, honestly, like, you like RPGs. RPGs are games that smart people would play. Because you've got a bunch of numbers that you need to keep track of, and, you know, just generally trying to come up with an overall plan. The thing is that Stellaris doesn't hide some of its complexity as much as some of these other games. Does a better job at hiding it than some of the other Paradox games, but definitely it's a game that is pretty upfront about what it asks for you. So I think Johnny is perfectly capable of playing Stellaris, but of course the fact of the matter is we only have a finite amount of time, and it's important to play what interests you, so no pressure. But whether or not he plays Stellaris, I strongly recommend him. We were talking about a couple of plans for a stream, which I am looking forward to, and I get to take part in a very small way, but I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag before it's ready, or ever. He did a co-cast with me for A Way Out, which was a wonderful game that I had a ton of fun with, and he was a great partner for it. I thought made me a better caster just because the dynamic was much more interesting, but absolutely holds a cast on his own. I've been having fun. I actually probably been having more fun watching him play The Witcher than I'll necessarily have fun myself with. Maybe the third one I'll like, but the first one seems like an absolute chore, and so I'm glad that Johnny played it so I don't have to. But yeah, Johnny's a great guy. He does a ton of different types of games. He usually does like to do franchise playthroughs, but I think one of the things I respect the most about him is that he's not too dogmatic in terms of the types of streams that he does. Like, if he wants to play something, he's perfectly willing to just say, yeah, I'm doing this now. Like, I don't really care if you decided that I'm obligated to play, you know, game X, Y, or Z today. I feel like playing Q. But on top of that, he's got a great wit. He's got a wonderful personality. I always sort of say in a just world, our follow and view counts would sort of be switched. But we live in an unfair world, and I'm very happy to have him as a viewer tonight rather than me watch him. So, The Witcher. Well, I do Darab ask the opinion on the upcoming series Netflix. I don't know anything about the Netflix series, and I've never played any of the Witcher games, so I have no opinion on them.
Ships upgraded.
Okay, Strategic Resonance Fleet has upgraded and is available for yet another upgrade, so we'll hammer out another one of those. I'm purely doing this so that I can
Construction finalized.
I can try and build a whole bunch of extra ships. So I'm going to build the mining stations here. I'm actually going to go to Siga first because of the archaeological site, and then we'll move back to Mintaka, which we will colonize because, again, it doesn't hurt to have people working resources. It is, of course, a mining world, so it's not the most important thing for me to pick up. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think this is just the world we live in right now, which is it doesn't really matter if it's good or not.
System resources analyzed.
There's always going to be someone complaining about it. I think there was a really interesting retrospective on Battlestar
Ships
Galactica.
upgraded.
Now, again, I've not actually seen the series, so I can't comment too loudly on it. Titanic life forms. There's nothing for me to do with it, though. I can't comment too loudly on it, but I know that it was one that, at the time, a lot of people said was like a major disappointment. But obviously, history has been much kinder to that ending. And this is probably going to be true for Game of Thrones. And, you know, despite the fact that there's a lot of people running around complaining about everything, I am very much of the opinion that we're sort of in a golden age of movies and television. So it obviously stuff is never going to be like people imagine it, but that's kind of not really the point. It's... Oh, did we finish upgrading already? Cool. So with any luck, if I hit the reinforce fleet button, it gives me corvettes but not destroyers. Fair enough. But yeah, I just think I think it's most creators seem to be taking the wise route and just not listening to the quote-unquote fans, because they're creative professionals and fans are consumers, and the fact of the matter is consumers don't really know what they want. There's the old Henry Ford quote, if I asked the customer what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse that ate less. Anyways, let me catch up with okay, so Johnny and Ben have both... So this is the shameful thing. I have worked on Battlestar Galactica, but I don't know... I know hardly anything about the series. Did see BSG watching it for a second time these days. Definitely among the top sci-fi series. You only saw the new one. Yeah, I mean, I worked on it, but I don't have a contemporary account of this. It was more like... hey, I wonder how that turned out. And then I was reading this retrospective, and apparently people considered the ending to be a disappointment. I might be misinformed on this, but that seemed to be sort of a consensus view amongst people who were following. And certainly like Ron Moore, the showrunner, sort of said, I think people, you know, are a little more like fair to the ending than they were at the time. So for whatever that's worth. Yeah. I was a camera assistant on the 3rd season. My first job was to be locked in a cage with the blonde robot lady. A single cargo tug hauling a gas canister was arrived at Balderak under escort by the ISS Jal Waden. These contents of the canister have been released into the gas giant's atmosphere, safely returning the Dathnak colonist to her home. Good riddance. All right, let's get this ship onto something more productive. So let's start by exploring the wormhole. He had to fight her to the death. Yeah. No, it's like it was a big close-up shot. Like, so this, like, here is an example of what my experience of Battlestar Galactica is. And it's not even that I dislike the show. It's just that there's a lot of different things to, you know, to work on. And, you know, for me, it was less about making movies and a little bit more about making money. Although it was clear that Battlestar was more interesting than some of the other stuff that I worked on. I also worked on a Nouvelle Ball movie for what that's worth. But basically it was a close-up of her. And I think his name is Colonel Ty. Anyways, I think she like winds up hitting the guy. Anyways, like the grizzled old captain, and I did start watching the series, so I know he has a drinking problem, at least at the beginning of the series. And there's like this one line that he has, which is like, shackle the Cylon, bitch. So because it's a close-up, I need to make sure that like the slate is in the... Oh yeah, sorry, I called her robot later. It's Cylon. Again, I'm not... I'm sure everyone who thinks that it's an amazing thing to work on a show like that is like, he doesn't even get the names right. I'm sorry, but
I would never want to belong to any club.
Bamboozled by Light. Hopefully you are not following for Battlestar anecdotes, because I would probably have about 15 minutes worth of them, and that would be it. But yeah, anyways, like, so the trick to a good slate is you want to make sure that it fills the frame. You absolutely have to make sure that like the sticks are visible when they clap down. And close-ups are always a bit of a conundrum, because you do not want to do the scene one apple, take one kind of slate, because it's like 10 seconds later somebody's going to say action, and the actor's apparently going to have to ignore the small apocalypse that just happened in front of their face. But you want to make sure that it's actually an audible click, and that all of the information about the scene is available, so that one of the assistant editors is going to be able to like categorize everything properly, and they can focus on actually getting the show done and the sound synced, as opposed to just some, you know, nightmare of I actually remember there was this one time where there was like a mess up on a slate, and somebody did like the click twice, and the first just let out this absolutely devastating line. It was like, that'll give him something to think about in the editing room. But yeah, so the trick on this is that there's not... I can't be in front of the bars, because the close-up is too tight on the woman. So... you know, it's got to be on the other side of the bars, and then it's just kind of a matter of making sure that you get the spacings right, because obviously there's bars in the way. You want to make sure everything's visible. But obviously to get that particular angle right, I can't be on the other side. I am not the T-1000. I cannot go through bars. So this means being inside the cage, and then of course... there is absolutely no sense in me, like, doing a flying tackle of the actress to get out of the, you know, to get out of the cell. So essentially, you know, I clapped my slate, kind of ducked out of the frame, did my absolute best not to be a complete pest while the scene was going on, and then when the scene was done, you know, just run out and do all the other stuff that I needed to do when the camera wasn't rolling. And that was my introduction to Battlestar Galactica. So, anyways, back to that other space thing. For those of you who are not familiar with the species, by the way, now seems like a good time. I was talking about Johnny Big Time. Here's the story of the Akano High Kingdom. This is the story of Harrison Jones, High King of Old Albania. No artifact was safe from Jones, and even the most ingenious engineers of ages past could not develop a mechanism that would confound his ingenuity. Through his legendary exploits, Jones united the quarrelsome tribes and set his sights on new secrets and the treasures buried within. The Akano people of Old Albania are now reaching out into the galaxy in their stone ships, continuing the great work of the High King. No tomb is safe, and no civilization will remain untouched. So I'm going for this planet first just so that I can have an archaeological site to mess around with. Hey, there's the Grand Herald. So yeah, like quite literally beside my existing world, my capital world was the Grand Herald. The agreement we signed giving you access to our databanks has run its course. Would you like to extend it for another 10 standard years, or do your researchers no longer require the information that we offer? We would like to extend the deal. Excellent. Our databanks will remain available to your scientists. And I think I'm going to risk it and go for some more terraforming. Yeah, this is going to be a little dicey, but I'm going to spend the full 5,000 and turn this into a proper alpine world. Well, see, yeah, this is the tough one, actually. Because if I spend 2,000, I can turn it into a continental world that also apparently has 100% habitability, and I call BS on that. So Tundra World is 95. This has got to be something to do with the species that I have within my existing. Yeah, it's because of the Andigaj. I think I am going to spend for the... I think I'm going to spend for the proper Alpine world. It'll be expensive, but it'll be worth it. Hello, Dalanu! So each light spot, yeah, specifically, I believe they just refer to them as a system, but yeah, you've got it right. A couple of patches ago, they actually made it so that you can have more than one light spot. So in this case, you've got, it's not exactly 3 stars. It looks like this is a brown, oh no, it's a brown dwarf, so it's still a star. They are substellar objects that lack the mass to sustain hydrogen fusion, roughly the size of large gas giants. They have much greater density, their low luminosity, and comparatively small heat generation means that planets orbiting them are unlikely to support life. I believe you can have up to 3 stars in a single system, although obviously most of them are sort of single. And then there are a couple of black holes. Generally, black holes don't have anything orbiting them. Where's the most recent example? I know there was one kicking around here somewhere. But yeah, you're largely correct. Like essentially, if there is going to be something habitable, it's going to be orbiting a star, and the stars are the things that that you jump between in this version of the game. There used to be other forms of travel in the game, but they ultimately decided to abandon that in favor of some. Actually, sorry, I was wrong. There is something. It's a broken world, but it is still something that is orbiting the Howling Vortex. But ain't it pretty? There was something else I was going to say, but apparently I no longer have an attention span thanks to the internet. Right, so for some reason I am not able to actually reinforce this fleet to proper capacity. Is that what it's telling me? Oh, nope, I just can't afford it. So this is a question of poverty, not a question of efficiency. This barren and lifeless world is showing signs of once having supported a biosphere.
Together we will build a brighter future.
Destroyer hull points plus 200, so I'm assuming this means that I need to go through another upgrade cycle. Advances in building techniques will allow for the construction of sturdier and more durable destroyers. Moving right along, if I want, I do eventually want to start upgrading my star bases, so this has a fairly strong argument. I did say I was not going to go for the L-Gate insights, but it's tempting now. I'm sure I can find flat cannons. That's a less inspiring choice. I'd probably prefer the plasma thrusters if I was going to go for anything like that. But it wouldn't hurt. We're one away. Oh, I hate that I'm doing this, but I am actually going to fire for the L-Gate Insight.
Construction finalized.
I said I wasn't going to, but I'm a liar. Also, let's just take a quick minute here. I should probably be getting some fancy... Nope, we still have an artifact exhibition going on here, so I'm happy with that. Horizon signal hasn't come out of it, so it's not sufficiently creepy yet. Okay, so we've got an idea in terms of what the access points
complete.
are. Aculum is still sort of my last stand. If I can get to whatever this system is, so much the better. I think it's very unlikely I'm going to be able to win the race to this system, though. I think probably Aculum needs to be my main focus, and what I'll probably do from there... I'm just going to set myself up for the next batch of exploration. I want to get myself an idea in terms of whether it's better to go down this path or down this path in terms of any future expansion. Okay, more construction's done. That's good news. I have money for more ships, so I'll run with that. Construction ships still sitting idle, so let's get you... Lies and flim-flam. What do you mean I can't build a... Another ship is performing or has performed this order. I'm very curious who it thinks is doing this. Okay, let's audit my my fleets. So first of all, Rurius. Oh, this is a nice little bonus. So it turns out if I want to bully these guys, I just need to get my fleet levels up, and I actually don't need to worry about. This is actually great news. So if I want to cause problems for these guys, essentially I just need to get strong enough to consider them inferior. I declare war to vassalize them, and I no longer need to worry about the Wraith. I just need to jump through the base at Vite and mop up. So that's a good day's work. Next up, I think we're gonna head to Siggy. I'm gonna assume that we get the system in time, and then this is bizarre that it can't build. Like, this is a really great little expansion, and what's weirding me out a bit is that there isn't any construction ship. Oh, no, I see what they're doing. Next thing I want to do actually is... I think I'm going to get them focusing on this system. So I'm short on influence and on alloys, but I do want to get that crystal sooner rather than later, because that's going to allow me to build up my industry. Okay, I think we're back on track as far as infrastructure goes. So who are the fallen empires? Number one would be the Cradrox conservers. I called them the conservatory. Mr. Green and the Candlestick will be coming shortly after. Let me just read the event. Our detailed survey of Zudra 5 has revealed that it may once have supported life in the distant past. There are significant deposits of frozen water at the polar ice caps and beneath the planet's surface. The existence of valley networks suggests that water may once have flowed freely. Terraforming this planet would theoretically be possible, but we do not yet possess the technology to accomplish this monumental task within a realistic time frame. Okay. So we've got the basically the materialist one, the Codrox conservers, who don't actually hate me as much as this had better be good implies. I believe there's only one other fallen empire that we're aware of at the moment. That would be on this side here. This would be the spiritualist empire, so obviously they're not going to get along, and I'm a bit lucky in the fact that I'm a materialist myself, so I'm, reasonably happy that the Pelesemus Watchers, the Holy Guardians, who are naturally hate me, are on the other side of the galaxy, although there is sort of a wormhole that goes straight to my territory. So, obviously, if we're picking sides, I kind of need to make sure that the conservers are, they're on my end. And then I'm almost certain that there's going to be at least one more inside of the systems, and that's just because we've got 1, 2, 3, position 3 and 4 is still unknown. And the fact of the matter is that the map's getting painted in pretty rapidly. So I'm willing to guess that it's going to be something. If it's something small and it takes one of the top spots, it's almost certainly because it's a fallen empire. Yeah, hopefully the war in heaven does not come up for quite some time, because I am nowhere close to being prepared for that.
Our research has progressed.
All right, artificial moral codes. This is a fairly important one for me because right now we're spending a lot in terms of consumer goods and efficiencies, just dealing with things like crime and amenities, a lack of amenities and whatnot. So this is going to solve it both ways. It is circumstance that dictates what is moral. Define the circumstances, and ethics is like clay in your hands. So the next question is, what do I want to spend my research on? Hypercoms is nice because of the unity, but I feel like we should be aiming higher. So gene modification is tempting. Food processing less, so I'm okay for food for now, so let's do gene tailoring. And Rurius, I actually don't know what to do with Rurius, to be completely honest. It's my agri world, and I want to keep it as my agri world because it does get a 20% bonus towards farming, but I'm actually running out of things for these guys to do. For balance, I could make a chemical plant. What else? I mean, in the absence of any other things to do, it would not hurt to have more scientists. So yeah, so here's the question I want to ask of myself. Is like, if I could build anything extra. So like, let's say we're at peak capacity on this planet. I don't think it makes any sense to build a hydroponics farm because this is just going to give me 2 farmer jobs, and frankly I can just do better through other means. Luxury residences doesn't make a lot of sense because I still have plenty of city districts. And so essentially the fact that I have lots of city districts available means I want to be focusing on jobs or things that generate jobs. So I suppose the question is, do I want to, knowing what I have, do I want to go for alloy foundries and sort of have this be Forge World Part 2, or do I want to go down the tech tree? I think probably honestly, alloy foundries I think makes a little more sense. because it's my more pressing concern at the moment. I know I'm going to have an entire science sector by the time this is all done. So the only thing I could conceivably argue for is eventually there's going to be an upgrade to the food processing facilities, and I'm going to need volatile motes for that. So a chemical plant might make sense in that context. But for now, we're going to say I've got one surplus job here. We're going to get the 2 alloy foundries, so that's a total of 3 surplus jobs. I need 2 more. And so in this case here, we'll get 2 more clerk jobs as well as some surplus housing. That's how I'm going to thread that needle. At some point, I do need to upgrade this this stack, but I do want to make sure that my expansion is on track first.
Construction complete.
Against my better judgment, I'm gonna leap into the darkness on this one. It's going to be a little bit of a race between my construction ships and my other work, but... What traditions did you go for? So, part of this was a set of priorities. So, I've gone for domination now. I will admit I rather thought that I would be subjugating the Aztani a lot sooner, but the fact of the matter is that we've been cut off from them for a while. So we started with expansion. I think I went prosperity. No, I went expansion, discovery, prosperity, supremacy, and we're now going down domination. And then as far as ascensions, we took technological ascendancy, one vision, mastery of nature, and imperial prerogative. We haven't actually really taken advantage of mastery of nature as much as I'd normally like to, but this is just a question in terms of what resources I had available at the time, and the fact of the matter is there were other opportunities that came up, so I stuck with it. The probing crew of the observation station in orbit around Feldazir 1 has not reported any major findings today. That was until they sent a drunken message to the scientific headquarters. The crew have reportedly descended upon the planet and proclaimed the chief scientist as a deity to the locals. Not only that, but they also made them construct a holy monument in his honor. The resulting pyramid now stands on the planet's surface, the locals worshipping it and presenting it with offerings. Looks like they were pretty good at making pyramids on their own. So we can say, recall the team and scrap the project. Civilization on Feldazir 1 are thrown back into the previous age. The observation post is dismantled. Presumably, I would need to send a ship to go and rebuild it. Now, honestly, that sounds like exactly the kind of busy work I want to be sending my construction ships on while I upgrade my fleet. But that also sounds like loser points. Hilarious, this prank will go down in history. The civilization on Feldazir 1 are thrust into the next age and hope that there are no bad consequences, or erase all our traces and keep working. Remove the Great remove the Great Pyramid and the one Lavis Pop dies. You know what? I'm gonna say, Johnny, this is you can weigh in on this one. But I don't know, drunken dwarves getting people to undertake a giant engineering project for their own amusement, that kind of sounds on brand. I'm thinking hilarious, this prank will go down in history. What do you think? You can see the humans doing that for real one day once you discover a primitive civilization out there. Or, of course, the implication that this is in fact our own history being projected to us. Oh yeah, and actually, sorry, Ben, Marshall, I meant to reply to this, but I didn't say it. I didn't say it before. So Johnny Big Time loves dwarves in every single game that he's ever played. It is not as deep and abiding of a love as it is dogs, but it's damn close. So in this particular case, Johnny saw a dwarf in the species portraits, and demanded to know why we were even considering any other ones when there was obviously the best option already on the table. And so I had something else in mind. It was actually one of the first times I came with a pre-prepared species for a Stellaris game, and then as soon as his like pure enthusiasm for dwarves came through, I was like, no, I gotta do something with the dwarves. So we improvised. So hilarious. This prank will go down in history. All right. I'm not making as much progress as I would like towards producing additional alloys.
Construction complete.
Kapji Prime has been terraformed into an alpine world, so some of the early investments we made in terraforming are paying off. This should hopefully translate into fewer consumer goods spent because we'll be spending less in terms of upkeep. Now, looking at what I've got coming up, it does sort of seem like this pocket is a better choice. It looks like there's just generally more science, reasonably desirable resources, so we get some volatile motes. And then I already know that one of the other ships is going to be taking care of something like VMAS and that, so I'll move it into place, but it's probably going to take me a while to get it done. Okay, this is a good moment. What we're going to do here, again, start with research and then move into mining. It's not like we need more minerals, but it's what I've got access to. And when I can, the science ship will... Where are you going?
Anomalous readings detected.
There are fragments of an unknown vessel and close orbit of Prothon. Okay. Okay, so I do have a ship assigned to the archaeology project. So I'm always happy to see that number going up. The funny thing is we spent so much time creating a navy that would be able to take these guys on that it's actually not as strong against this Civ, which I'm now much more likely to go to war against. So at this point, I just want to be sitting...
Upgraded.
I think I want to just be sitting on what I've got right now before I try anything too savory with my energy credits. Again, I'd love to terraform as much as I can, especially some of the ocean worlds and whatnot, but I don't want to risk the chance of losing a boost to my Unity and my technology, because that's been sort of a pillar for this run. The Tassergoid secured. The Tassergoid is an extremely lethal predator that stalks the dense jungles of Garbanog's dwelling at night, paralyzing its prey with electric shocks before sucking their brains out with its tube-like mouth. Unfortunately, 3 of the crew members of the ISS JAL Immakun were lost to these creatures before a specimen could be secured. The Museum of Exobiology on Old Alvania will rename one of its wings after these brave officers to honor their sacrifice. An additional specimen collected, and 250 society research gained. All of the specimens asked for by the Museum of Exobiology have been secured. The museum has grown to a massive facility where artificial gravity generators and atmospheric processors are used to simulate the environments of over a dozen worlds. Visitors are journeying from all across the Akano High Kingdom to see its wonders. So 500 society research, 500 energy credits, 44 influence, and 6,291 unity. I love that emote, Johnny. I got to see who is this person who has given me such joy. I don't know who that is, but okay. Time for more traditions. There's really only one option. Colonial viceroys. Our control over the colonies is dependent upon us finding capable and loyal individuals that can be trusted to enforce the will of the government. Governor level cap is increased by 2. We'll be 1 away from the Privy Council, which will give us the full domination tree. and that'll be boosting our monthly influence as well as unlocking either diplomacy or harmony. It's genuinely a tough call for me, because there is something to be said for generating a federation when I'm one of the weaker members in the game. But I have a feeling that harmony will be a little bit better just to its reductions in terms of things like costs. But we don't need to make that decision. I'm spending unity that I haven't earned yet, so Viceroys it is. Okay, same story as before. We're going to try and get as many destroyers in. I also need to start thinking about how I'm going to fill out the Grand Herald fleet a little bit more because we have gained some additional space. We can get you to build a starbase. Blinding Fate. The irradiated fragments of the ISS JAL Kolpo crew registered in close orbit of Prothon are indeed... the irradiated fragments, the ISS JAL Kolpo crew registered in close orbit of Protheon are indeed the remains of a spacefaring vessel. With a very distinctive design, it matches no known make on record. We've extracted some data from the ship's damaged computers, recorded in an alien language that is nothing like we have ever seen before, and one that we are unable to translate. By studying the remains, Science Officer Vlud Kap postulates that the craft, known as the Kotalo, suffered a navigational error when exiting FTL, bringing it too close to the gamma ray jets of Prothon. Large portions of the ship were stripped apart through radiolysis, and there are no survivors. Through hard work and experience, scientist Vold Kap has developed new skills. And they've become paranoid after seeing what happens when you get too close to the exit. Research speed minus 5% and anomaly research speed minus 10. 10%, that is, not 10 units, obviously. How are we doing on our world? So, Capital System Complex is always... brings a big smile to my face. In the worst case scenarios, I might have to switch out some of the exotic gas refineries for some other type of
system resources analyzed.
Building, but we'll worry about that when we have to.
Scientific progress attained.
Oh, X-ray laser. These lasers have shorter wavelengths than the UV-based laser weaponry, but are even more destructive. This is something I would be willing to do kind of a leapfrog for. A 5% bonus to research speed is pretty cool. Disruptors are a nice cheap thing for me to earn, and that would be great. Obviously a 20% bonus to, so to give you an idea in terms of what I would be earning from that. Jobs, I've got 488 being generated right now, so we are looking at just shy of 100 new energy credits from quantum field manipulation. But honestly, even though it's like 100 energy a month that I might be gaining off of that, Positronic AI definitely feels like something that I'll benefit more from. That percent-based bonus to technology is a little too good to pass up, so...
Construction complete.
Okay, we'll get you in for an upgrade first. I should probably be focusing more on fleshing out the numbers rather than trying to upgrade them to the latest designs, but it looks like we lost the Admiral. Okay, so Gale Speed 38, or Scout at 45. I mean, a 10% bonus to sublight speed and a bonus to sensor range is not bad, especially given the way that I handle this stuff, but a 7-year difference in age, I'm thinking we'll go for the Gale Speed for now.
Construction finalized.
Okay, so as usual, we'll start by building the mining station and then just move on to the next bit. I'm going to prioritize strategic resources, and so the order is going to be strategic resources and science are going to be roughly approximate. and then energy credits are going to be
Ships upgraded.
energy credits are going to be sort of the secondary priority, and then minerals or any other objects will be sort of the final tier. So strategic resources and research are essentially going to drive most of my expansion efforts, although not at the risk of like adding too many entryways to the systems and whatnot. Okay, Rurius Prime is done building stuff. I don't think I have anything for this place to do right now, to be honest. It'd be nice if I could upgrade the science building, but again, if I'm going to be building all these tech worlds, I should probably actually commit to it. I am okay running a deficit of rare crystals right now. And that means I'm going to start transitioning this into a science building. And again, this is following the larger, so the end game for this system is actually to be to turn every single one of these worlds into a tech world. That doesn't mean that they're not going to have civilian industries. I'm going to have sort of my basic setup of sort of one of all of the essentials. But following that, I'm going to be putting sort of my priorities into building as many research complexes as I can to make sure that I'm getting the most out of the bonuses. So perfect example here. Right now, this is a rural world. I'm thinking probably now is the time to actually change it to a tech world. So the rural world is going to be giving me a bonus towards farming, but at this point, we've got quite a bit in terms of science. So refinery world? Ah, yes. Okay, that makes sense. So where are you? Tech world is seat of scientific research and of technological advancement. So the bonuses here, 25% to research lab speed, which whatever. But more importantly, research upkeep is down 20%. And so the idea is that over time, I'm going to be reducing my costs of all of my research, even though I'm building so many of these things. So again, Okul is going to be replacing its surplus civilian industry with science. One of these is going to get upgraded sooner rather than later. I also eventually want to downgrade the civilian fabricator in favor of upgrading it on an industrial world, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm just trying to... I want to make sure that I have enough jobs for people so that I don't wind up with unemployment. That's going to be an inefficient way for me to do that transition. But we're on track to actually finally turning some of this stuff into... These are no longer just plans. I am actually finally starting to get the specializations that we were talking about last stream into motion. Oop, I've got an idle construction ship, which makes me sad. So it would be wonderful for me to take the Grand Herald fleet and upgrade it again, but I need to make sure that my my existing construction ships are sort of doing something productive. Some intermediate goals. Once the minerals here are taken care of, I should probably be colonizing this, not only just building the base here, I should be colonizing this world. No reason I can't. Obviously that'll improve the number of people who are working tiles, and as a result give me sort of help me kind of bridge this this industrial gap that I find myself in. Speaking of which, are these guys still at war?
System resources analyzed.
Looks like these guys don't want to... looks like they still want to be my rival. I can get a nice little boost to...
Scientific progress attained.
I can get a nice little boost to... influence if I decide to declare them a rival, but I'm going to avoid starting a fight as much as I can until I'm in a more secure position. Gene tailoring, gene modification points +1, unlocks genetic modification and self-modification, making gene editing tools widely available is sure to have a positive impact on our development as a species. So, Tomb World adaptation, 20% bonus towards Tomb Worlds. Do we have that many? We've got arid worlds, deserts, ocean, tropical. We've got 1 Tomb World. Size 19, so that's not nothing. Okay, I've got 2 Tomb Worlds in my immediate area. 3 in what will eventually be my territory. Well, sorry, 3 if I include the areas that will eventually be my territory. Not really the sort of thing you'd want to give up another tech for, though. Honestly, though, it's the cheapest tech, so it's like it's not a useless one. Okay, Tomb World it is. I'm starting to feel a little more secure in terms of where I'm taking the ships. Nope. Automated Dreadnought. A single massive warship has been discovered patrolling in the Asterope system. No life signs can be detected on the vessel, but it is emitting a very strong power signature and appears to be bristling with weapon systems. It does not respond to hails. Caution is advised. Look at the size of that thing! Where is it? It's here somewhere. I'm assuming that's because they finished their investigations. Yeah, I think I'm just going to automate them away then. Okay, so who the hell saw the automated dreadnought? The galaxy is large enough that it's actually kind of hard to figure this stuff out.
Evading hostiles.
Congratulations, you were the one to find it, so let's watch the fireworks.
Construction complete.
L-Gate insights gathered. We have now gathered sufficient L-Gate insights to research the technology behind the item. Once that this has been done, one of our science ships should be able to abort the perpetual maintenance cycle that they are stuck in. The L cluster is almost within our reach. Okay, good. This is going to change a few things. So we'll set you up for mining stations, build a starbase. We got the L-Gate Insight Intensive Study within the fields of nanomachinery and subspace phenomena will eventually yield a new L-Gate Insight into the disabled L-Gate Mystery. So the whole reason I did this was so that I can get a head start on colonizing the cluster. Something that may not actually work to my advantage, by the way. Now that I have it, I actually don't have an L-Gate in my borders, so I want to be focusing on obtaining one of those as soon as possible. Looks like we're already on the way. So, Alloy Megaforges is pretty much a must-have at this point. Because that is going to send my production into the stratosphere. Not that the stratosphere is very impressive in a game like Stellaris. But that's what I want. Okay, so we're going to leave the Grand Herald on its own. I'm actually going to take a minute here and take the Strategic Readiness Fleet. We're just going to combine that right away. It's a perfect number for me to get in the fleet as is. I hate having loose ends here. I'm going to do it. Again, I kind of want to see what I'm potentially giving up on all this, but it doesn't make sense to just do a whole bunch of repeat works. If I can get to here, I've won, and then I can start investigating all these other areas that I've closed off. But frankly, I'm more interested in getting to Aculum on time. Okul Prime has been terraformed into an alpine world. Again, good news here, just because that's going to be reducing some of our costs in terms of maintaining units. Okay, this is going to make me so sad. Let's take the Herald class out. Let's pay an exorbitant price for fleet upgrades. And hopefully that won't upset our ability to grab these. Made a little popcorn. Let's do this. It's going to take me a while to get to the L gates, though. See, everybody keeps telling me that bad events happen, but I've always had good things happen when I open the L gates. So I think you all just don't know how to play Stellaris. So there is a dilemma here, in the sense that I need to colonize 2 more systems before I'm actually able to work on the L gate itself. So sucking up all my alloys like that isn't necessarily the best thing to do. Let's just sell another 5,000. Oh, interesting. Well, this will be... I don't know if we'll get to it by the end of the stream. I mean, we still have plenty of time in the stream, but you never know what'll come up. But we'll see what happens this time. So, Deja Vu. Sensors report a ship with seeming identical properties to the unique remains uncovered near Proton has just dropped out of hyperspace in the Targon system. They are hailing us on screen. The crew of the strange ship that mirrors the wreck was found near Proton seem excited to speak with us, though our translators cannot decode their language. They identify themselves with low-frequency verbal expression that sounds like Kotalo, a name that we haven't heard before. Perhaps we can communicate using raw data. Try to ask what their purpose here is. We receive a flurry of data in response, including cartographic imaging of a neighboring galaxy and footage of what can only be engineers working on an alien FTL drive. We can draw no other conclusion than that these are explorers from another galaxy. Their ship's lack of weapons capacity would support this theory. We send back footage of Akano explorers on their first journey beyond our solar system, and the reaction from the alien crew appears to be jubilant. Send them the data that we covered from the Proton wreck. The excitement of the Kotalo crew seems to evaporate. Multiple crew members begin to tap away at consoles using their tentacle-like appendages. They transmit what looks to be their passenger manifest, navigational data, and crew logs to us. Without a doubt, the data matches that of the Proton wreck to the letter, with one exception. The Proton wreck contained further entries with later dates. It would appear that the Proton wreck is the same ship as the one before us, only older. This isn't possible. Despite their alien mannerism, the Kotalo crew's consternation is evident. Our own scientific attachés inform us that the Proton wreck is indeed the future of the ship before us. Any information we give them may have unforeseen consequences. If we warn them, they may avoid disaster, or we can't risk further timeline interference and close the chat. Man! Okay, I've had this event before, but it's like, I'm just remembering, imagine what that would be like, even if it was something like you were on a bus or something like that, and you received certainty that there was going to be an accident, and you're talking on a radio with someone, and you said, what can I do to avoid the accident? And it just goes silent. So, we will warn them. The extragalactic explorers begin poring hurriedly over the system data that we send them, speaking to one another in their strange language, and entering a flurry of commands on their consoles. Our diplomats wait patiently for a reply, but before it can come, the ship's engines begin to power up unexpectedly. Before we can react, they've vanished. Good luck, Starfarers. I think I warned them the last time I did this event too, but it's fun to pretend it's the first time for everything.
Construction finalized.
Okay, good news here. We'll just build up what we can. This is not a high priority expansion. Definitely going to the L gate is, because of course we spent time researching something that would... Hello! Oh yeah, it's just the negative for the... I'm fine with that. Again, I'm keeping an eye on these guys to see when they become inferior. At some point, I would also like to ask the curators when I'm ready to start taking on the Spectre and the Grand Dragon, but we'll maybe hold off on some of those details for now. I can definitely clobber the raiding fleet, just barely, but obviously having a Titan. So my existing fleet basically matches the strength of the raiding fleet, and then I add the the Titan to it, and it becomes scary. So 20k fleet now, not bad. If it's a snake eating its own tail as a result, then it is. And yes, you will not name the real outcome of the event, so as not to spoil it, just in case you don't like spoil. I do prefer to discover stuff, but most of the stuff in Stellaris, I feel like I've seen 1 or 2 times. The one exception to that is I know that there are endgame events which I have not seen, because as much as I love Stellaris, my usual experience of Stellaris has actually been to beat the game before an endgame event comes up, which probably means I've been playing on a little bit too easy of a difficulty, but then of course I've been getting my ass handed to me in this one, so perhaps I went a little too aggressive in terms of increasing the difficulty. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I've played enough Stellaris that most of the stuff I've kind of done a few of the variations on. But still, it's always fun to just discover stuff on its own, and especially rediscover stuff. Like I still really enjoy the Dathnak event chain. Okay, now normally I would have gone for some more Unity points, but in this particular case here, I think I'm going to go for the Alloy Foundry just because it's available. So that's going to get me 2, and then upgrading the Planetary Administration is going to give me 3. So this actually covers me for the next little bonus. Is the gas yes, the death the
anomalous readings detected.
The gaseous beings. Sensor echoes have indicated the presence of some kind of unidentified object deep within the atmosphere of this gas giant. I'm not sure why it was trying to build a starbase. I just merely wanted it to finish building the mining resources, but... and now I've hit my limit in terms of influence. So this may not have been the best choice for me because obviously I'm giving up the influence that would have gone towards pursuing the L-Gate. The reason I did it here is because ultimately I am going to want to take this Alpine world for colonization. This was recycling campaign. Now that costs energy, so I'm okay with that. Reduction in costs for consumer goods, so that's worth hanging on to. But, as always, I need to make sure that I can afford my bonuses. So, 873 days. It's going to be a little tight, but I think we can manage it. So my next phase is going to be to build a secondary fleet. Let's start small. I'm just going to build kind of... At this point, this is really just about getting my naval capacity up. So we'll start with whatever class of cruiser I'm currently using. The Jal Lorton. So one Jal Lorton. Okay, well that takes care of the that takes care of the rest. But essentially, I'm gonna start adding pieces to that fleet when I get chances. And again, the main goal behind that is to actually just dig into the relative strength of our two empires.
Together we will build a brighter future.
Okay. Alloy Megaforges is a big deal for me, so it appears as though the enigmatic cache is now done with its scan on Craxima Prime and is seeking another target planet within our borders. a relief for the citizens of Craxima Prime, or a shame? It is a relief, because we're still xenophobes. Solid holographic casts can alter the shapes at a moment's notice, speeding up alloy production. So... Civilian Replacomplexes is kind of tempting because it'll give me additional consumer goods capacity, but I did just spend a bunch of money on improving my ability to at least maintain, if not generate those. So we can modify robots, I can get better torpedoes, I can get autocannons, or I can start upgrading star fortresses. I do eventually need to be investing in my defensive structures. I think I am going to go for some more shooty, though. Just the ability to... I do kind of want to keep an edge in terms of my ability to wage war, and that's going to be the combination. It's going to be not just... I want it to be the combination of the variety of weapons in addition to the what am I trying to say? I want it to be a variety of weapons as well as sort of the intensity of them. So a couple things need to happen on this world. So we've got a new spot available. First thing I want to do, though, is we're going to upgrade our research building first. So that's going to give me another 2 research jobs, I believe. No, that's 3 research jobs. Now, is there anything extra I can get here? In another world, I would probably do things like slave processing facilities and military academies. There might actually still be an argument for a military academy. What's the population looking like? Do they have slaves is the most important question. Looks like there is 1 slave. That complicates it a little bit. Because there needs to be a slave processing facility that just gives a 5% bonus to output is a waste of resources. But we can always restructure the labor on the planet. Thing is, there's just not going to be that much of a use for slaves. So we'll eliminate that as a possibility. Military academy, there is an argument for, because soldier jobs will give bonuses to naval capacity as well as defensive armies. It never hurts to have some investment along those lines. Also, I don't have Alloy Foundry yet. Getting a little ahead of myself in terms of some of these extra perks. Again, as I've said, I do want to make sure that my my basics are kind of covered before I go for full I kind of go for full strength on all of these specializations. So at some point I need to get more exotic gases. I have a couple ideas of how that'll go. And then, of course, on the capital world, I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to handle some of these other ones. I guess I did say that I was going to move towards better forge production on this one. We'll wait while... We still have some slack in terms of available jobs, so we'll wait a bit on that. They want volatile motes too. Do actually have a lot of volatile motes. Maybe I'll wait until we see what my alloys look like, and then we'll move on from there. And then on Okul, I believe... Okay, so 2 jobs, 3 jobs, but we also need housing, so I'm going to add more for that. I believe I get 6 houses now. Sorry, what the hell am I waiting for? What prompted that, Johnny? I think I was too busy staring at my... Energy signature. The ISS Irsk Hessent has picked up a strange energy signature coming somewhere deep within the atmosphere of Nikanda 3. It appears to originate from a structure of some kind, possibly the remains of an orbital station, but the atmospheric pressure makes it impossible to approach. Nevertheless, scans of the unique signature have yielded a large amount of valuable physics data. It's a nice 150 physics. Yeah. So one of my goals has been to improve my alloy production, and one of the things that's helped me a lot there is that I now am able to upgrade my existing alloy foundries. One of the tricks about this game is that with the new Megacorps expansion, you can have like specialized worlds. So this is a generator world right now. Technicians give an additional 20% to their output, which in this case is going to be energy credits, which in this case is the currency of the game. All of these worlds in the Kabji system are dedicated to tech. One of the reasons for that is that I've got a governor he's an intellectual, so he gets a 10% bonus to research, and because the governor will assign that bonus to all of the planets inside the sector, I kind of want to make sure that all of these worlds get as many kind of science workers as they can. Not to the exclusion of other things. Like I do still want to make sure that there's basic civilian industries and alloy foundries and whatnot, because that just sort of makes sure that the overall level of production in my empire is going up. And then if I'm in such a heaven that all of my other, like all the other stuff just doesn't matter anymore, then I can start sort of dismantling the civilian industries on the tech world and just making exclusively industrial worlds here. But as you can see, this industrial world's already well underway. It's got 3 civilian fabricators. So this is a total of 15 artisan jobs, which are cranking out widgets. So on this planet on its own, it's generating 100, well, technically 99.72 consumer goods. And then the net production of it is 60 because, of course, it takes up resources to, like, the worker living standards. You actually have to pay people, unfortunately. But compare that to... I mean, there really is no comparison, but we can even compare this to, like, the capital. The capital is actually a net deficit in terms of consumer goods. So the idea here, just like anything, right? If I was responsible for feeding all of us, we would starve to death. But if Johnny could do it, we would eat hearty. Or maybe he would just poison me because of the betrayal. The reason I'm not building anything on Kabji right now is just because I've got surplus in terms of jobs. So there's other things I can do.
Construction finalized.
Okay, so there's a couple things that are going to happen here. We'll build the mining stations, but more importantly, we will send out a colony ship. Frankly, I don't even care what this becomes. It's just mostly to start having babies. Although, in reality, there's probably going to be just a bunch of minerals that get generated on it. In that particular case, what I'm most likely to do with this world is start generating some extra specialized resources. But I'm not in any rush to sort of figure out what I'm doing with that. I think once this has finished its construction, it should be able to go to the next. It should be able to go to the next system. All right, Ouroboros. The system sensors indicate that the extra-dimensional exploration vessel Colato exited FTL abruptly on the outskirts of the Proton system, colliding head-on with an orbital comet. The collision was disastrous enough to kill everyone on board and has sent the remaining wreckage spiraling in towards the Proton pulsar. It would appear the comet, not the pulsar, was responsible for the Kotalo's demise, and in our effort to warn them of their fate, we seem to have caused it. Both wrecks now haunt the Proton pulsar. Oops. But we do get a nice physics bonus. Not that we'll be able to take advantage of it, but... I'm used to it, Johnny. I befriended them, and I betrayed them. Does it sound familiar at all? I never actually read the event for this, so what should be a normal molten planet is making the science ship's sensors glitch uncontrollably. Nope, dead people. So, Fadra Vis has died at the age of 97. Let's see if we've got some top-tier folks to replace them. Ideally geniuses, but not exclusively. So Jal Waden, I believe, is currently... Sapra Nick is currently the one who's investigating the archaeology. The robot assistant... Yeah, see, this sucks. The paranoia reduces this down to a plus 5%. So the AI assistant will actually give a 5%. So technically, this is the superior choice. Congratulations. You're now in the lab. And let's find a replacement. Ideally, young is my #1 trait, so Ganak Wek, congratulations. You are now the captain of a science vessel. Kind of familiar. You just remember vaguely someone who you thought was your friend and mentioning something about betrayal. I don't know what you're talking about, Johnny, to be honest.
Construction complete.
It sounds like a very common plot, though. I think some of the best movies have that kind of a story. So while I couldn't identify specifically which one, I would say that most people would consider that to be one of the best stories that could be told. So much so that I personally would consider myself privileged if I had an opportunity to participate in such a story. But maybe that's just me. Alright, I'm looking for a Torshka class. I am an idiot. And then... Now again, this is sort of my second best fleet for taking on the other guys, but I'm gonna live with it right now. This is a Trocytal class. What am I looking at in terms of a cost here? This is probably going to cost a lot more than it says it will. But as long as I'm able to get the extra outpost in, I'm happy.
Together we will build a brighter future.
Cool, new tech. Alright, so if I feel like colonizing tomb worlds, that's now apparently an option. Through comprehensive study of irradiated environments, we will allow our settlers to colonize worlds that have been devastated by nuclear warfare. I can boost my fleet command limit, I can change influence and war exhaustion costs, I can get better resources from hard hat jobs. That'll maybe take a minute. Reverse engineer minor artifacts. Break down minor artifacts for random technology bonuses, gain progress in a random tech, gain research points, gain a temporary research speed bonus. That sounds like a really good bonus to get. The only thing I'm going to do is double check what these types of jobs are. So, is this just all jobs? Because that's amazing if that's true. Like across the board, 5% bonus to jobs? Still, I think I'm going to go for reverse engineer. It's a little too good to pass up.
Construction complete.
What was Riak again?
System resources analyzed.
Bonus to alloys. We're gonna get over 100 by the end of the stream, I hope. It's a bit of a stretch goal, but I think it's within our grasp. Depends whether or not I tell any more movie anecdotes. Okay, so
System resources analyzed.
I can afford to upgrade this first of all. I don't know if I want to upgrade this world though. I think we're just going to leave that be. Actually, looks like I already had the plan for a refinery world. I'm glad past me was smarter than present me.
System resources analyzed.
Okay, more terraforming. This is good news. So again, the biggest bonus that we realize through terraforming these worlds is what we don't pay in cost. So basically, the as you can see here, this will be pretty straightforward because I don't actually have all of the details. Sorry, I don't have every planet converted this way. So here we have an alpine world. This is basically the type of world that my species likes to live on. So it's got habitability 90%. I'm not quite sure why it says 80 here, but one way or the other. Habitability 90%, amenities usage plus 10%, pop upkeep plus 10%, resources from jobs minus 5%, pop growth speed minus 5. It's possible that that will change over time. Now let's compare that to Riak. Riak is an ocean world, so that does not make any sense whatsoever. So apparently this one is 95% habitable despite clearly not being. All right. There's something about this number that doesn't correspond with what's going on here. But as you can see, basically, the less habitable a world is, the more that you pay in terms of amenities, which in particular is going to affect my consumer goods. And then you also, not amenities, upkeep is what you pay. And then, of course, the resources that they generate are not as good. So this is one of the reasons why I made sure that my tech systems wound up getting these alpine worlds before anybody else, because ultimately I want to make sure that they're able to kind of generate as much science as possible and try and keep that edge over potential rivals. Speaking of, let's just take a quick minute here. These guys are starting to sort of run away from me, but let's just get a quick look at what I've got. So our technology is 1647, so 1136, 1455. So the Vizari I do want to keep an eye on. So the Sondrithian, these are the people who are currently list me as a rival. Their technology level is 1659. So now it's not clear where that's gone. It's entirely possible that this is technology that's not been put towards making war. But you better believe I want to keep a very close eye on what kind of tech these guys have available. And obviously, whenever one of these ships kind of pops up, I'm going to take the opportunity to just take a look and see what they might be carrying. Mind you, there won't be a war with these guys for a while.
Construction finalized.
Okay, so Riak got some stuff built. They've got a capital. Betharian was something special. Food processing was also special for them. So heritage, bureaucratic complex, alloys. We don't really need civilian goods right now. So in this particular case, I'm willing, unless they have a huge slave population, which they do. So in this case, we'll actually build the slave processing facility. And this actually isn't terrible because we already have the extra 5 jobs. So in this particular case, we're already going to be covered by that. So we're one job short on this world here. I think what I'm going to do is start a new research facility. And we are out of exotic gases, so I need to find a new source for those as well. Archaeological site event pending. Signs of resistance. The disturbances of the science ship sensors in orbit is nothing compared to the complications encountered down on the surface of Siggy-1. Extreme magnetic fluctuations from some unknown source is making equipment go haywire. It will be an ordeal to research this electromagnetic bedlam, but given enough time, answers will emerge. Keep digging! So, high difficulty, but I have definitely the skill to match it, so we shouldn't have to wait too long for this thing to get done. We've already hit our goal of extra alloys, so I'm going to celebrate by spending money. Again, I'll make sure that this guy is taken care of before we do anything else around here. I have a feeling that this construction ship's just going to sit twiddling its thumbs while we head towards the Howling Vortex. Actually, the same could be said for a bunch of my construction ships. Not a great position to be in, but there's not much that I can do about the influence. Like, we're just gonna, we'll claim what we can. I need one more to get to the Howling Vortex, and then I can start thinking about where my biggest priorities are. VMAS almost unquestionably because of the extra crystals. Maybe finding the shortest distance to exotic gases. In reality, I should probably prioritize anything that gets me closer to securing Aculum. It doesn't look like these guys are being too aggressive in terms of pursuing claims up here, but that can change any day. And so...
Construction finalized.
Okay, I think, yep, this is more of the same. I am a little curious, so it's all destroyers here. Do I actually have a colony ship? Yep, colony ship's on its way. So I think what we're going to do here, I'm going to double up my 2 construction ships.
Construction complete.
Okay, so Ryok's taken care of.
Construction complete. Construction finalized.
The sensor profile of a mid-sized vessel was briefly detected inside the upper atmosphere of this gas giant. So I think the way I'm going to handle this surplus here is we're going to go straight for the outposts, and then this guy is going to double up the work and basically build in the wake of this construction ship. And says, well, you enjoyed your stream, but it's time for you to go now. Take care, everyone. Stay well. I hope to see you around. Thank you very much, Ben Marshall. And it's been a pleasure having you in here. I know it's been a little bit more quiet in the chat anyway, so it's been a pleasure to have you kind of to bounce ideas off of. Hope I get a chance to see you again. No hard feelings if not. And have a wonderful evening, whatever you're doing. Okay, I'm probably going to start munching on minor artifacts with this, especially if it gives me a technological advantage. Various artifacts and technologies functioning by arcane means that cannot be understood or replicated, at least not by conventional science as it is known to us. So let's see what we have available to us. Obviously, we had some good stuff that we sacrificed in order to be able to obtain that, but food processing centers seems to be a decent idea because I'm going to be expanding colonies fairly soon. And what else did I want to do? Right. I've got about 2 years of artifact exhibitions, but we do have some new things that we can do with my relics. Okay, so we can sell to private collectors for energy. We can proclaim superiority to get... Oh, I did not know that we could get extra influence from that. It also makes us more racist. Reverse engineer arcane technology, which will... break down minor artifacts for random technology bonuses, gain progress in a random tech, gain research points, or gain temporary research speed bonus. I've got 85 of these, so this is a no-brainer. Find military applications, break down minor artifacts for various military bonuses. Performing this will prevent you from seeking peaceful applications for a time. And then find peaceful applications, break down minor artifacts for various civilian bonuses. Performing this will prevent you from seeking military applications at this time. All of that sounds amazing. What I'm going to do here, we're definitely going to reverse engineer arcane technology. So arcane deciphering, study of the artifacts has advanced some of our research, 350 points. So it's going to take 720 days. The real question here is, am I going to be going to war in 720? So we're looking at 2 years, basically. How likely is it that I'm going to be going to war in 2 years? This isn't going to turn to inferior until I have a larger fleet. And larger fleet is closer to... It's closer to being achieved than it's ever been. But the fact of the matter is, until I actually get my naval capacity full... I'm going to need civilian benefits to... I'm going to need civilian benefits to actually get to that milestone. So I think the argument here would be to find peaceful applications, knowing full well that I'm going to start going to war as soon as I get the opportunity. What aspect shall we focus on? Ancient fad, the happiness plus 5%, efficient manufacturing, consumer goods upkeep is lowering, battery miniaturization, amenities usage goes lower, management insights will improve leader experience, gain trust growth, and leader upkeep, or never mind. Yeah, honestly, those aren't actually that impressive. But that also suggests that, okay, combat drugs, army, bonuses... shield damage, armor damage. Cool. I'm not going to do any of that right now. But I'm glad that I know I have the option available. Hey, and I got an achievement. Arcana. Study minor artifacts and discover a random technology. I should be keeping a little bit more of a kind of a hawkish eye on this area, but okay. Ripper autocannon. These upgraded rotary autocannons feature improved tracking and fire control systems. This allows them to maintain an even higher rate of fire. So I can build cruisers faster. A little bit late for that. Bonuses to mining station output. I mean, the energy credits would be nice, but other than that, not really. Although it is inexpensive. Durasteel armor, which will make my fleets even stronger. Ugh. I would have gone for this, but the fact that I get even better armor, and it's only 29 months, I think I'm going to take advantage of the fact I have a pretty good research staff right now.
System resources analyzed.
I also need to start considering the location of science ships, so let's get you to the Howling Vortex. You should arrive in time for us to claim that system. Maybe a little late, but... And at some point, I should probably be considering moving some of my guys into at the L Gate to prepare for the unlocking. Governor Junak Wek has become more experienced, but with this experience has come increasing stubbornness. This governor has become quite obdurate and is having difficulty accepting new ideas. So I believe that is, yeah, that's my scientist. So 25% penalty to experience gain. Not exactly the trait that you want on the person who's going to be leading your research, but Them's the breaks.
Construction complete.
Okay, I believe that means that we have... Yes, we've upgraded what we need. We've got the cruisers, destroyers, and corvettes that we need for this as well. So... at this point, I'm just going to sort of fill out these tiers until I'm at my fleet cap. I originally used to have some reserves for some battleships and whatnot. I'm going to leave that be and focus a bit more on just getting the getting the badass ships that I want in. I hope that's the right one. I don't want to rely on the I don't want to rely on the tool. If I can build the destroyers, I will, but... I probably should have given these a name that indicated that I built them, but... that would have been too easy. This is hardcore mode. The Dark Souls of video games, if you will. Colony ship's on its way. It looks like those tomb worlds are not as habitable, so yeah, 20%. But I can terraform them.
Construction complete.
Okay, this is going to be a pretty big deal. I'm just going to get these guys to build the engineering. We'll head straight to VMAS. Actually, you know what? I've got the ability to grab that right now, so... this is to take advantage of the crystals. I am currently running a deficit on those. Next priority is going to be to try and find exotic gases, though again, the fact of the matter is it's Aculum. It's taking Aculum, and that's going to give me access to things like Shorax and whatnot. In fact, it is... I think there is an argument to be made that I should ignore any other expansion in these regions, because grabbing Aculum means that this is basically mine. If I don't grab Aculum, then I'm going to need to defend a bit more of my my territory. Sort of my next fallback would be something like Elnath. But basically it raises a question as to whether or not I'm going to be able to hold all this stuff. And of course the difference between Elnath and Aculum is for exotic gases. Exotic gases are going to be something that I use to improve my unity and my research buildings. So, and those are things that are definitely contributing to the strength of my navies. That's so metal. Once the surface expedition managed to solve the problems with the malfunctioning equipment, the nature of the wild magnetic fluctuations started to reveal itself. The raging oceans and rivers of lava down on Siggy 1 is in fact not made up by conventional magma. It is molten metal. Metals with this temperature tend to not have particularly strong magnetic properties, and not even the sheer volume of molten metal on Siggy 1 could create the electromagnetism of this abundant proportion. So what's causing it? Find out in Chapter 3. Congratulations, you get all of the living metal technologies forever. And another Titan ship. Esteemed High King Fawn 1, or the First. A decade ago, the Akano High Kingdom pledged its support for the artisan troop, and so you have. The time of your patronage is coming to an end, but we would be remiss not to ask, would you care to renew your subscription to the finest arts and crafts in the galaxy? It's a deal. I've been saving for it all 10 years. What are we looking at for Curator Insights? Still have some time to go on it, but I do want to get in a more comfortable financial position before I start messing around with that. So this guy's going to expend what I can, and then priority is going to be going to kind of pushing out our borders to get to Aculum the fastest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the question is if I take Sosta or Sheraton, and it seems like Sosta is a pretty obvious choice for the next one. So research speed plus 5% with the positronic AI. Evolving artificial intellects are opening the door to the possibility of true synthetic sapience. I did not know that we needed to do an L-gate activation. So the L-gates defy our current understanding of subspace mechanics. This must be remedied before they can be opened for travel. So I think it's not that expensive compared to the other stuff. And as much as it would be nice to get some extra weapons, L-Gate activation seems to be the right tech to go for. So it's something I committed towards pursuing. Obviously, there's potentially I could just be letting my sunk costs make me feel a bit more nervous about this stuff. But I've opted to, I sort of made a decision, okay, we are going to make an effort to open the L-Gates. I've pushed my colonization towards taking the Howling Vortex, so let's just let the other shoe drop and take
System resources analyzed.
Take the sector. Although, it might mean that I'm wasting my time with this science ship, so let's get them to do some fancy business. Mr. Researcher. Yes, they are investigating the anomaly. Good. So I think we're on track. As you can see, we're already over 100 in terms of our alloys, which makes me happy. I actually should be pursuing... Where are we at? So we've got 2 destroyers. I'm building the 3rd.
Construction finalized. System resources analyzed.
So research first, mining second. Mining second. Size 12 Alpine World. Does it have anything special on it? More volatile motes. Other than that, it's really a refining planet or a something planet. It's not something I'm going to ignore, but I have other colonies I'm building right now, so I don't think there's a priority. Three of 5, you say? I don't think it works that way. I don't know why I'm so obsessively looking at this. It's just, I really do want to start kicking ass. The Eyes of Sin, it's very nice to see you. I'm sorry to hear that sleep is becoming a little more difficult. Would it help if I started using more quiet voice and doing one of my Surviving Mars streams
System
early?
resources analyzed.
How you doing though?
Finalized.
I was very happy to hear from you earlier today, but I'm equally happy to see you in my stream, and not least of which because if my new program is any indication, it's a little bit of a late night tonight for Stellaris. So maybe all that stuff I said about Imperator was wrong, and everybody really wants to watch that instead. Okay, 4 Corvettes when I can. I also want to put some upgrades towards my existing star bases, though. I think the naval capacity is the higher priority, though. So Corvettes are Trocutal. Just got back from a walk. I'm always nervous when you say you've come back from a walk, because I also know sometimes that going for a walk involves you meeting some of the, I don't know, rejected cast members of like the bar scene from the first Star Wars movie. Excuse me. Okay, we already knew we were going to do this. Privy Council, the best and the brightest, compete for a chance to whisper advice into the auditory receiver of our illustrious ruler to better guide the ship of state. Ruler level cap goes up. Of course, one of our rulers is, or governors is stubborn. Oh, wait, actually, that may not be governor. That may actually just be for the, king or queen themselves. But we finished the domination path, so good to go. Adopting all domination traditions will increase the monthly influence by 1. In addition, we will unlock 1 ascension perk slot. Now, I'm genuinely curious where I want to go with this. We've got enigmatic engineering, which improves sensor range, hyperlane detection range, and our technology and engineering is too arcane for others to reverse engineer. Don't really think that's going to be that big of a deal. Oh no, this was a good walk. Nicer part of this neighborhood. You saw a dog and saw some birds and some very nice looking flowers. What is your favorite kind of flower, Isefson? In fact, all of chat, what is your favorite kind of flower, if you have one? The raiding bombardment stance doesn't seem to be... I mean, I don't quite see the dwarves doing this, and more importantly, I'm not really in a position to be able to take advantage of it. Ah. Now I know what to, you know, if I want to, if I really want to impress, you know, I'll ask her out on a date and she'll say no. But then I will secretly find her address and I'll show up completely unexpected with those flowers, and she will be so impressed with the dedication and the money and the time that I spent finding her without her giving any indication of it, that it will, you know, it'll win through the day, right? And it's an elderly pug. Oh, very nice. I mean, but I sometimes feel bad for pugs because it always feels like they're just on the verge of death, but they're awfully cute. She'd be willing to wade through bureaucracy just for me, is what you're saying. Engineered evolution, to leave our genetic destiny in the hands of nature, is an inefficient and excruciatingly slow process. Why not jumpstart the future of our species? Extra gene modification points, reduction in the cost to upgrade them, and I get cloning vats. He had a little mini asthma attack, just getting excited about being pet. Poor little guy. That is the one thing I really do like, that pugs seem to just lose their mind as soon as you give them attention. Like, the level of enthusiasm is unbounded. Although, personally, I'm still very fond of dachshunds. Like, I'm not really a pet person, but every time I see them, I'm like... That's a wonderful dog. We've got the flesh is weak, so reduction in cost to robot upkeep. The limits and constraints imposed on us by our feeble organic bodies are simply unacceptable. To reach our full potential, we must turn to cybernetic implants. So this is the dwarves taking their engineering internal. And we start turning into cyber dwarves. We've got mind over matter. Only a fraction of the potential contained within our minds has been unlocked. The latent psionic abilities of our species are only now beginning to manifest in certain individuals. The latent psionic abilities of our species will be awakened in some individuals. Research option gained telepathy. So this will be psychic dwarves. We've got galactic force projection, which will overdo my naval capacity and fleet command limit. Defender. The thing is, we've got, like, in terms of capacity, I can build 5 more stations sight unseen. So, Isaacson says flat-faced cats. Persians mostly get like that too. Your grandmother's Persian cat looks like it's been hit with a frying pan. But she loves attention, and she will wheeze and meow and purr like a little asthmatic motor. That's cute. I don't remember offhand what a Persian cat looks like, but I'll look it up. I have definitely been following Weather Factory's cats adventures. They definitely seem to get up to a lot of mischief. Defender of the Galaxy will help if we have an endgame crisis, but this seems a bit premature. Like, I have to... So in terms of, I can access 2 new Ascension perks through Diplomacy and Harmony on its own. And then it looks like I'll get an addition. So I'm unlocking one now. This will be the Harmony one. This will be the Diplomacy one. And then I get 1 extra. So it would seem to me that I should probably leave this for like one of the last 2. Interstellar Dominion, Starbase influence costs, claim influence cost, probably would have been better a little bit earlier. Like former US President William H. Taft. I love how every presidential reference you make is Taft. This is one of the many things I like a lot about you. And it's not even like an ironic like little personality traits like that absolutely well, I can't say sell me on you, but they are incredibly charming, Amanda. Like if you were to ask me who my favorite prime minister is, you would get like a 6-hour lecture on why Lester B. Pearson is the greatest Canadian prime minister ever. Whereas I already know, like, if I had not directly asked you about US presidents, I would have already been able to talk about Taft. I actually specifically stopped the Division 2 playthrough when I thought I saw a portrait of Taft in the background to mention that. Oh my god, I have seen these cats. These cats are amazing. I did not know they were called Persian cats. Alright, sorry. We're playing Stellaris. Although I will show you my cat species now. Interstellar Dominion seems like a bit better earlier on. I feel like a 20% reduction to influence costs, while not meaningless, I just feel like giving up some of these other alternatives are not as they're not as attractive. By the way, Johnny, if you have any guidelines you'd like to see, like if you'd like to see the dwarves turn their engineering inward and turn into cyber dwarves, or if psychic dwarves, or if genetically engineered dwarves, like maybe they will genetically engineer themselves some height. If you have any opinions on this, feel free to speak up. Grasp the Void, Starbase capacity +5. Again, I already can build 5 new stations automatically. Galactic Contender, plus 33% damage to Fallen, Awakened, and Gate Builders. Gate Builders? Maybe I should hold off. Executive Vigor, Edict Duration plus 50%, Transcendent Learning, Leader Cap. I mean, we've always had this stuff forever. Colossus Project requires planet killer weapons. This, of course, gives me ridiculous abilities to wage war, but I'm not strong enough to do it right now. Evolutionary Mastery would give me even more bonuses towards engineering myself into a super race, synthetic evolution. It is time to abandon the flawed organic vessels that imprison our minds. By transferring our neural patterns to synthetic bodies, we will achieve a higher state of being. So this turns us straight into robots. Transcendence would be mind over matter, so that would be the psychic one. So Transcendence, all members of our species will unlock their full psionic potential. World Shaper allows us to terraform worlds into Gaia planets, but we need climate restoration. Eternal Vigilance would actually be a good one for me to get, but we don't have Star Fortress yet. Oh, you know what? I've been able to research that for a while. I think I might actually hold on, unless I wind up doing... something like Mind Over Matter. I think I'm going to hold off on this one until I research some new tech. So I'm going to take a minute here. I love the fact that, by the way, now that I'm on full screen, that I'm actually able to show you this on stream. So to be honest with you, this is not how I'd normally play the game. I have never done the psionics stuff, and it seems kind of cool. But I'd like to see the fact that a materialist empire worries me a little bit. So I'd like to see a little bit more about what the deal here is. So if we select this, we eliminate ourselves from engineered evolution, the flesh is weak, and we can't be a Gestalt consciousness. So primary species gain is the latent psionic trait. New leaders have 20% chance to get a class-appropriate psychic trait. Existing leaders can get psychic trait through events. And increased spiritualist ethics transact. Okay, so there's going to be a cost. If we move towards, so Transcendence, Primary species gains the psionic trait, assimilation, citizenship option. All primary species leaders gain the psychic trait, special project to breach the I do know about the shroud. Yeah, the real question is whether or not I want to go for the psychic dwarves, because that doesn't exactly... I mean, cybernetic dwarves seems a little more on brand. I'm just going to take a minute here and take a look at what telepathy gets me, though. Also, I mean, the fact that we've got the Cybrex world seems appropriate. Really? So where did that wind up in the... Oh, Jesus Christ. Society research. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Now I gotta go back down to... Probably should have thought that through. I think refresh should... Nope. Sorry about this. 4 times the size. Okay, so I think this is bone. Oh, interesting. So I think I knew this at some point, but there are actually other bonuses towards research. I was more concerned about like what I get from this thing. So what about psionic theory? Okay, psionic shield. I mean, all of this stuff looks great. I think the divine stimulus is the god beam, if memory serves. But what's the deal with the psionic, the other stuff? The game lets you open an internet browser inside the game to check things out. Absolutely it does. And this is a really well-maintained wiki. Even Surviving Mars has one of these, actually. So, although I don't know if it lets you open a browser. But yeah, if you want to learn anything about Stellaris, I think the tutorial's a little bit better than the beginner's guide, but if you actually want to understand how all these things work, you can check it inside. I'm probably not going to go psionic unless Johnny tells me I have to do psionic dwarves. I am definitely thinking cyber dwarves. Again, conditional on Johnny telling me, don't you dare turn these things into metal hulks. But for now, we're going to sit on it because it's entirely possible that I'll go for the heavy defensive positions option, just because that sounds really good given what I'm going to be up against. So the 2 that I'm considering right now are the flesh is weak. The limits and constraints imposed on us by our feeble organic bodies are simply unacceptable. To reach our full potential, we must turn to cybernetic implants. The other alternative I'm considering, though, is holding out to get... Oh, where the hell are you? Eternal Vigilance, the Star Fortress technology, which will give plus 25% to starbase damage, plus 25% to starbase hull points, plus 25% to defense platform damage, plus 5 defensive platforms. And essentially, this is the, come and get it tech against the scarier neighbor. And do what you want, sir. You're the captain now. No, I'm not. You're the dwarf expert.
Our research has progressed.
By the way, Johnny, have you ever played Shadowrun? Advanced Food Processing. Food Processing Center's new crypto preservation and protein resequencing methods will make food processing much more efficient. So that'll allow me to use volatile motes to get even more food. Not that I really need it, but it's not terrible to have. So 20% bonus to food. Now, I've already got that kind of taken care of with my Agra world. So instead, we're going to do refit standards. It'll take 18 months, and I will get lower ship upgrade costs, which sounds like a pretty good deal for me. Negative. Johnny, what if I told you you could play a cyberpunk Zoltan? You could be a street samurai, you could be a decker, you could be a dwarf magician, you could be a dwarf shaman, which is a totally different kind of magic. You could just be a big badass that, like, shoots guns. You could be the getaway driver. You could be a dwarf getaway driver, just barely looking up over the steering wheel as you escape from the police. Does that not sound like the most exciting thing in the world to you? Why haven't you played Shadowrun, Johnny? I will buy it for you if you don't have it. Gas giant ship. Active scans of Cognifu 4 have picked up what appears to be a large ship deep inside the atmosphere of the gas giant. Judging by the nearby debris, there have been several failed attempts to salvage this derelict in the past. Any ship strong enough to withstand such crushing gravity must be a magnificent prize, and Science Officer Ganek Weck has proposed a salvage project of our own. Alright, let's see how far away this thing is, because normally you need a construction ship for it, and if it's like in the... Well, okay, that's not terribly far away, and my construction ships don't have a lot to do right now, so 50 influence or bring it up, whatever it is.
Updated.
Okay, let's see what we're up against. Oh, okay, apparently it's a science ship thing, so get it done. Yeah, Johnny, we gotta have a chat about Shadowrun, I think. Ah. Zapped! The blatant disregard for conventional laws of physics made the science department consider external forces as an explanation to the strange properties of Siggy-1. An impact crater and fusion drive particle traces in orbit suggests that the planet was in fact fired upon by some kind of electric superweapon at some point. The severity of the strike was such that all metals on the planet melted, and the planet is still crackling with residue electricity. What warranted such a tremendous attack, we'll never know. Incredible. We have gained ion disruptor research and 10% towards it. Hopefully we haven't already researched that. But that was fun. I don't have any more archaeology to go for, though, so let's just get you on an automated exploration. I don't know if we actually got any special... I don't know if we got any artifacts out of that. Okay, we've got a few worlds. So here we still have a surplus of workers. There's no... I mean, at this point here, this is already demolished. So I have enough space to be able to restore it. Maybe? I don't know. I'm never going to turn down Unity. I just don't think this is going to generate a lot of Unity. They do produce amenities.
Complete.
I'll start by repairing it, I think. Okay, I think these guys have... Oh! Okay, now I need to start making some decisions. I need more housing, and I need to make things better for my science. I'm just trying to think if I need anything else on this world right now. I do want a military academy. I am going to bite the bullet and upgrade the science center. So that's going to give me 3, 4. I still need one more job, so let's get another housing district down. That'll kick the can down the road for a while. That's probably going to eat into my consumer goods for a bit, though. So the answer to that Also, how many scientists do I have working and how many in... 7 scientists, 5... I think it's time to admit that this is no longer an industrial world.
Construction complete.
Okay, we finished with the Howling Vortex. Realistically, the priority is going to be expanding out to these systems here. So I'm going to move this guy to assist. I think this guy is going to kick around doing his own thing, but right now it's just going to be all hands trying to get us towards our choke point.
Construction finalized.
Why
Special inquiry concluded.
does this think it's an aggro? It's not a bad guess to say that it's an aggro world. I just think there are other things it can do. Special project completed. In a masterful display of engineering, the team under Science Officer Ganek Weck has managed to gently raise the derelict ship on Cognitu 4 to the gas giant's upper atmosphere. Despite its age, the ancient cruiser is in remarkably good condition, and we have restored power to its systems. No trace of the original crew remains, but we have brought over our own and commissioned the ship into the fleet. Cool. Free ship is always nice. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to build a bureaucratic complex. So the idea here is I'm just going to try and make this a little bit more like one of my standard worlds now. And so what are we looking at here? The derelict class, 472 on it. I mean, it's not the most exciting ship in the world. Well, you know, X-ray. No, you know what? I should shut up. This is actually a pretty decent ship. So let's get them and the fleet. And knowing that we're going to have some extra... So we're going to get an extra cruiser. This means that we're going to do our usual pattern. We're going to take the... So now we're going to have 3 cruisers. That would mean that we want 6 destroyers, 12 corvettes, so on and so forth. So... I can never remember. Right. There's Torshka. Right. God, I hope I had that right. Yes. Unless, of course, I got it wrong the very first time, and then I've just built a fleet that's going to vanish the second that my enemies look at it. But I suppose that's just the price I pay for being an idiot. Tiber 1, ethic changes. There has been a sweeping change in the ways of the primitive Baghdada since we began aggressively observing members of their species all over Tibor 1. Their hatred of our abduction shuttles has made them extremely mistrustful of anything that they consider foreign, while at the same time strengthening the bonds that they feel towards their own culture and species. I'm fine with them becoming more space racist. We're already space racists. It makes them more like us. Okay. This is kind of important because there might be some important changes of territory, which means opportunities for me. So, a massive shipwreck of ancient design circles Mendoc 3. Research it. Okay, so... So it was a stalemate? I'll admit, I'm a bit surprised. We did just get a new ship, so nope, still not enough. My maintenance has just pushed me a little bit down below 100 alloys. Although, again, that was a nice little milestone to hit. I think we'll we'll be kind of pursuing that a bit aggressively over the next little while.
Establishing means of production.
Okay, colony starting. The Estani trade union has ended their rivalry with the Andiganj nation. They may be on the path towards
System resources
reconciliation.
analyzed.
Now that is going to be a potential danger to me, because if they form an alliance, this is actually going to mean that they've got a front on these two systems down here. And then if I'm trying to go after the Aztanis, it potentially causes me a lot of grief. But I'm not really in a state to be able to start taking these guys on yet, so I will watch it with interest and do what I can to sort of break that alliance up if it forms. Gazal's Athorian. This is so disappointing. I want to find out what these guys are up to. The Estani trade union has declared the Sondrathian allied planets their rival. Okay, that's interesting. Are they still going to consider me a rival? Looks like they can't get enough of hating me. I mean, unlucky for them if it does turn out that I wind up going to war with them and can back it up. I am happy that these guys are not overwhelming in fleet power anymore.
System resources analyzed.
Again, I want to do what I can to essentially just buy time, because I'm fairly certain the setup that I'm on right now will keep me ahead. I haven't been looking too carefully in terms of the overall scores, but I'm at 1767, so 500 ahead of these guys. Yeah, so the people above me, I've got a pretty big gap in terms of science. Decano... Yeah, even sort of my rivals. This is not the kind of gap that I really want to be going to war over, but we're back to opening up that gap again. Now again, if I want to compare it to the conservers, I mean, they will look at me and I will evaporate, but... Okay, Durasteel armor. This strong yet flexible material is capable of withstanding severe punishment. It serves well as ship armor. So, the fact that I've not built Star Fortress yet is keeping me from a good upgrade, and I've got money to throw around, as well as a scientist who's actually pretty good at researching this stuff. So I think it's time for me to consider it. Now, again, whether I want to wait... This is genuinely a tough call for me, because the question is... Do I want the inherent benefit of... So, like, my cybernetic dwarves, this is like a near-term benefit that's actually seriously going to improve my ability to get resources now. So there's a really good argument for me taking Flesh is Weak right now. And then when the opportunity presents itself, to take Eternal Vigilance as a bonus. So let's just map out what the last few steps might be. Start with Flesh is Weak. If you do Flesh is Weak, you probably want to see it through to the end, so we'd go for Synthetic Evolution. So that's two spots taken care of. We take Eternal Vigilance, and maybe in time for... You know, this is the real question. So if we think that a crisis is going to come up and we want an edge for that, then I want to leave that last spot open for dealing with whatever crisis comes up. Alternatively, if I don't think that that's... Oh, right, this is building them. This isn't restoring them. So yeah, if we think instead that... I don't want a bonus in one of the end game events. Arcology Project probably wouldn't be a bad one, because that would just give me a huge production bonus on some other worlds. But yeah, so actually with that reasoning, the dwarves are going to embrace their engineering nature. We won't allow the latent psionic abilities to hold us back. We will instead say the flesh is weak. The limits and constraints imposed on us by our feeble organic bodies are simply unacceptable. To reach our full potential, we must turn to cybernetic implants. We'll get a bonus towards robot upkeep. We'll get a bonus towards pop assembly speeds. Less important because I don't have too many robot construction facilities. And we'll prepare a special project to enhance our citizens with cybernetic implants. We now possess both the technology to make advanced cybernetic implants and the means to mass produce them. Medical centers throughout the Akano High Kingdom are standing by to begin the surgical grafting process on our citizens. In the future, possessing neural implants and at least a rudimentary level of cybernetics will be necessary to function in the technological society that we are building. Consequently, the conversion process to install a basic cybernetic suite will be mandatory and free of cost to all of our citizens. We must embrace this technology.
Updated.
So, 62 months of engineering. It is a fool who persists in clinging to a worn, decrepit instrument when a more efficient alternative presents itself. We now possess the technology to make cybernetic implants available to the population of the Akano High Kingdom at large. Our citizens will be stronger, faster, and more intelligent as limbs and organs are replaced with improved mechanical versions. So this will take us a while. Ooh, actually, that's going to be a bit ugly. Let's cancel this. I'm going to wait because I want to... Oh, no. I am actually going to research this. So my original reasoning was, well, I want Star Fortresses. But the reason I was going for Star Fortresses was the benefits towards upgrading the star bases, and I'm not taking that right now, so the dwarves are internalizing their tools. And it's getting close to the wrap-up time. I just want to see what we're looking at as far as other tech is concerned. So I got 7 months before we activate the L gate. Let's make that the cliffhanger. 7 months shouldn't be too far off. In fact, it makes me think that maybe I should probably be getting the fleet in place. I wonder what it's going to cost me to upgrade the Grand Herald. I might be setting myself up for a big problem. Yeah, I did say it was all hands for pursuing my expansion. Guess that didn't turn out. But yeah, if I'm gonna upgrade the fleet, I kind of need to do it now. So hopefully it'll be done in time. At least this guy's, I mean, he's got stuff to build while he's waiting. I'll take Elor. I'll try and build a colony ship to the Alpine world, because this was the one that I really wanted. It was another farming world. My big concern right now, though, is I actually kind of hope that these things finish upgrading in time for me to make it to the L gate. Because if something nasty comes out of the other end of this thing, and it's actually going to take me a while to show up. I am seriously considering canceling this upgrade. We'll run by with what we've got, but I think I'm going to have to... Yeah, 4 months. I don't think we're going to have what we need in time, so let's... 26 days. I can wait that, but no further. Stop, for the love of God. It's a rush job. Although, gives me a chance to build this starbase.
Construction finalized.
All right. Lies and flim-flam. Why are there more of you than there should be? Oh, it's probably because it finished the construction of the other ships. Oh, crap. Okay. What are we looking at here? We've got 3, 6, 8. Okay, so there should be 4 more of these things. That's more like it. Okay. Let's just make sure this... Oh god, this is going to be a dog's breakfast. I'll have to sort out those numbers later. Just in case something terrifying comes out of the L gates, we are going to be showing up way too late for this. And where's the closest science ship? Doing something cool, it looks like. So which one of you is... Alright. Let's get this guy to go to the Howling Vortex.
Scientific progress attained.
Standardizing workflows for upgrading and retrofitting ship components can lead to massive efficiency gains. Yeah, this is going to be the other problem. I will have 2 expansion priorities and not a lot of influence. So I think colonizing the L Gate will actually be a higher priority for me. But anyways... Ministry of Production, cool. So I can go for a higher fire rate, but I don't think I'm going to be going to war anytime soon. So let's do the Ministry of Production because it is cheap and it's actually a force multiplier in terms of my, my production. 2 months to go, and we're still not out of the dock. Guess we can upgrade this fleet. So, this guy we're keeping aside to expand into the L-Gate system. The main fleet we're going to be bringing to deal with any potential dangers that come out of it.
Progress attained.
Opening the L cluster. Our scientists are now confident that our knowledge of the L gates and the technology behind them is sufficient to abort their maintenance cycle. If the attempt is successful, the L gate in the Howling Vortex system should allow immediate access to the distant L cluster. As the maintenance cycle ends, any additional L gates in the galaxy will likely become operational within a matter of years as their self-correcting software readjusts. This will still give us a significant head start to explore the cluster without interference. Prepare the project. Okay, so I do get to pick when I do this. And it does require a science ship, so I am 100% okay with how this is turning out. Everybody should arrive roughly the same time. But... we're going to hold our breath, wait to see what comes out the other end. Of course we're going to have a huge cliffhanger, Johnny. Okay, in the meantime, physics research. What do I want? I've got a cool ion disruptor, which I've already got some... no, I got to do Research Institute. This is going to turn my science worlds into terrifying monuments to science. Okay, so Old Albania needs to get some more artifacts for research.
Construction finalized.
Okay, this is good news here. I'm still going to expand out like we're trying to take Aculum. So once this guy's done building the mining stations, they'll build them here. This one is less of a concern because it's closer to allies, but if the Great Khan wakes up with these guys, we are in serious trouble. I do at some point need to deal with my exotic gases deficit, but again, that's what the whole plan with Aculum has been. Curators are going to want some money in 2 years. We're actually
System resources
getting a
analyzed.
little shy on energy credits, so I'm going to hold back on those expenditures until we're back on track. Part of that's just because we're sending the fleet out, so my maintenance costs are going to be higher. Again, I'm just going to dump the minerals out. There's really no point for me to store them anymore. They correctly identified this as a generator world now. That makes me happy.
Ships upgraded.
I'm also a little curious what is going on with the automatic one. So for some reason, they are just maniacs for not giving these things shields. I'm going to assume that I still can't afford to put real shields on them. Nope. Foreign empire claims our system, though it rightfully belongs to us. The Andigonge nation has audaciously laid claim to the Tiber system. So let's take that seriously. We're going to upgrade the Starhold. I'm not going to put any defensive platforms on it yet. But obviously, if I have got my fleet dealing with whatever comes out of the Howling Vortex and they decide that they want to get clever and try and open sort of a two-front war on me while I'm dealing with the Vortex, that can
System resources analyzed.
that can go badly. The Kenti Trade Union has entered into a migration. Okay, that's my ally. Making nice with my rival. As you can tell from the sounds, these guys don't like me very much. I feel like I should be able to spend some of these relics for tech again. Yep. Study the artifacts has advanced some of our research, 350 points. It's not the most exciting thing that I could get, but it is going to push me a bit closer towards my my goal of converting my dwarves into cybernetic monstrosities. Is that good or bad? What are you thinking of? The claim that they put on me, Johnny? Generally, a claim is not a good thing because it gives people a reason to go to war with you. But of course, if you think that you'll win the war, it's actually not. It's not a bad thing that they're potentially going to behave aggressively. But the thing is that generally,
System resources analyzed.
like if I were playing multiplayer with you and
declared.
Whew. I thought that was me. Oh, my ally making friends with your rival. Generally, when I'm in a situation like this where I'm pretty spread thin and I've got very powerful neighbors, I generally prefer everybody to sort of be rivals and going to war with each other. The fact of the matter is, though, I don't think the migration treaty is going to do enough. Like, if these guys were to declare war on me, I have a feeling that my ally would still, like, it's a plus 215. They have a 100 trust for me. The likelihood that they would say no in terms of the defensive pact, it would have to mean that these guys... Okay, well, they do count as overwhelming, so maybe I should shut up. No. What I'm hoping for here, so let's see what this war is about. They've declared war. It doesn't say what it is about, though. So what I'm hoping here is that I'll get a chance to see what some of their fleets look like. That way I can build sort of counter fleets to deal with their loadouts.
Finalized.
It's a pretty like the fact that this is a a higher difficulty, and especially because the AI definitely had sort of an early start in terms of, I'm out of houses, this sucks. I'm trying to think of the best way to handle this. I mean, switching out exotic gas fire. This planet definitely should not be doing the gas refineries. I think at this point I'm just going to have to take my lumps and deal with the fact that there's going to be some homelessness on the planet for a while. Yeah, you know, the resource silo isn't... Yeah, you know what? Let's get some luxury housing there instead of the resource silo. But yeah, so I'm fairly certain that my ally would still come to defend me, but as you can see, the game says that this thing has an overwhelming fleet power compared to me. And that genuinely concerns me. I don't know what, like, secret weapon they're sitting on top of. So this is why I'm sort of eager to see what they're bringing to the table so that I can build a counter for it. In this, again, because it's a little bit of a higher difficulty, on top of the fact that the AI was sort of allowed to run free for a bit, I'm actually kind of curious in terms of, like, where this edge came from, and I'm definitely feeling like I need to put some more effort in terms of designing my fleet. So it's a really fun way to play the game, but it's definitely one of these points where I feel like I'm kind of taking my life into my own hands in some cases. Is that Kabji where they... Yeah, so like a perfect example here. If these guys wanted to cause trouble, they could just come pouring through the Termata system, and they would be alarmingly close to my capital world. So if their fleets really are that big and scary, I should be paying attention. Yeah, this is pretty serious firepower, actually. Fusion missiles, plasma accelerator. I'm going to be getting the ion disruptors. Looks like they've got fairly weak armor, though. So based on the Star Fortress that I see, I would want to go very heavy. I'd want to go very heavy projectile, I think. All right, High King Fawn Jones has died at the age of 108. So this is going to be the Queen Merg the First. Fawn Jones did not get to see what lay behind the L gates. But the science ship is getting closer. The fleet is getting closer. The Visari Citizen Alliance has completed construction of their gateway in the Tistra system. I'm pretty sure they did not construct anything.
Construction complete.
But let's see what's going on here. Interesting. So if we do go to war with these guys, they basically have a backdoor to beat the hell out of them. Sorry guys, just need a minute. All right, sorry, I was intending to make this a cliffhanger, but then I'm just drawing it all out. Wait, did we really finish that quickly? That makes me happy. Again, we're still aiming to take the Aculum system. The Hulk orbiting Mendoc 3 is all that remains of the Vextar Zavonia, a massive sublate generation ship belonging to a deeply religious alien race called the Marduk Vol. Though the ship has been ruthlessly purged of all life, the Marduk's ill-fated journey has been detailed in the captain's logs. After being hunted to near extinction by nightmarish beings referred to as the Vessels, they fled their homeworld in search of a distant paradise planet, the mythical promised land Paradia, that would reveal itself only to the chosen ones. Judging by the state of their ship, however, their attackers caught up with them. Shall we extract the ship's navigational drive and decrypt its destination? Paradise planet, you say?
Sit log updated.
Okay. As usual, we'll put this one straight up to the top. This one I don't automatically get a claim on, but we look like... So the important thing here is the Thorians really don't seem to be pushing for this territory here, which is good news for me. As long as I get Aculum, I'll be reasonably happy, and essentially what we're going to be doing for this next little bit is just seeing what all of these other planets are, what they're worth, and how badly I want to fight for them. Obviously, I've got some colonizable worlds inside of here, but this isn't like... I'm not going to go to the mat for a size 15 Alpine world. I mean, there might be something really wild on all of these. They're not bad systems, but... yeah, I'm doing okay. Actually, I'm not as good for food as I thought I was. I'm generally doing okay, so I'm not too worried about this. Oh, Crown Princess Merg Jones is heir to our empire and will take the throne when our ruler dies. That would be Merg, second of her name. Hello, hidden citizen. I actually hate to tell you, I have gone half an hour over what I normally would. We are getting really close to a wrap-up, but stick around, because you're going to see something exciting happening.
Planetary worksite established.
Okay, we got a colony, which is good. Let's get ourselves built up here. So I want at least one housing district to keep everyone around. And I don't feel good about it, but we will build more minerals. So that's a total of 5 jobs that we've now given everyone. Johnny got you playing The Witcher. Which one are you playing, Hidden Citizen? In this game, can you claim high-value planets and sell them off like a savage real estate person? Well, I'll give you an example of how that might work, Johnny. Let's say... Yeah, the Andagonj will never want to do this with me, but we can say, offer a trade deal, and I can say, hey, you want the Tybor system so badly? So apparently it will improve their... they say, if I just straight up give them the system that they put a claim on, they're like, okay, on a scale of -100 to +100, we'll give you a 6 for that. We think that's okay. We'll not say no. And I'm like, okay, can we get some money in exchange for that? Oh, I'm sorry, it's not -100, it's -1,000. So hi, you just made a claim on this system, which can be a source of war, right? So like, there's this fascinating idea. It's called the Sengoku paradox. So there's an idea that Japan has claims on some islands, and China has claims on some islands. These are islands which are largely like ceremonial. Maybe not ceremonial is the best term, but like these are things that have no real strategic value. It's entirely posturing at this point. But the relationship between the United States and Japan is such that the United States defends Japan. It's why they, after World War II, they kind of didn't have their own military. Obviously, time has passed and it's a different relationship now. But like the whole idea is that if somebody starts throwing their weight around with Japan, the United States comes and helps them out. And so the way that it's built is that you can have something as trivial as the Sengoku Island leading to this huge international conflagration because of the nature of the alliance. So in this case here, something very similar. Now, I actually want Tiber. Like, Tiber is helpful to me because it's going to be where I wind up processing all of these materials. But I honestly got this just so that if I could try and cockblock them at Padma, and it didn't work out. But basically, okay, maybe let's not have too much of a fight. In fact, they've also claimed the Ofang system, so I'm going to add that. And on a negative 1,000 to a positive 1,000 rating, they say, okay, 14. We'll give you double digits. Ofang is a planet we used to use, so we're actually going to give you 2 extra points than Tybor on this. And this is me giving it to them. Anyways, with that huge aside out of the way, in theory, I could say, give me 650 energy credits and I'll give you this colony. Or, give me 1 consumer good. Nope, still mad about that. How about an exotic gas? Nope. Okay, minerals, the thing that's like most useless to everyone. Nope, you get really pissed off whenever I ask something for that. Well, but yeah, you could definitely be the sort of person, like if I wanted to cockblock him at Padma, I could turn around and say, what's it worth to you? How much do you want to give me? Actually, I mean, if we're talking about Asia, I will lease you this territory for 100 years. And then, but yeah, you absolutely could be a savage space real estate person. And if you want, you can sell parts of your empire to other people. That's something you're completely allowed to do and encouraged in some cases. Hidden says, playing The Witcher, that game has a lot of content. Witcher 3, you already beat The Witcher 1 and 2, but it's taking you a lot longer. I mean, I've not played any of them. I played a little bit of Witcher 1, and I can't necessarily say that it endeared itself to me, but I don't really think a lot of people say The Witcher 1 is the best example of the series. All right. The moment of truth.
Together
Hello,
we will
Sungif.
build a brighter future.
Ministry of Production. Planets are big and production sites are often separated by vast distances. A coherent strategy for making certain that everyone is pulling in the same direction is often needed. Let's do... Combat training is cheap and actually helpful to me if we go to war. Okay, Navy's arrived. And what a Navy it is. Look at that beauty.
Special inquiry concluded.
Hidden worlds. Cracking the encoding algorithms of Vextar Savonia's navigational drive was no small feat, but thanks to head researcher Tupra Toros, who seems to have developed an unusual obsession with finding the Mardak Val's utopian world, we have finally succeeded. More worryingly, the discovery is somehow leaked to the public, who now share Tupra Toros' fixation with settling a paradise planet. So nothing can keep us from paradise. Tupra Toros now has the maniacal trait and begins the Vectar Zavonia event chain, or abort, it's a fool's errand. Nope, we're finding the paradise planet.
Situation log updated.
Alright, let's find out where this hidden world is. Yeah, it's definitely not that one. Oh, wild. It's actually... Okay, so apparently the dwarves not only were spawned next to a titan that they dug out of the earth, next door there was a paradise world. I love this game. Okay, what are my science ships up to? Okay, well, they can do this research, but then I think they need to... head back. Velkan, you are also in space. Are you playing Stellaris now as well? Sungif, have you played the other Witcher games? I'm assuming you have from that comment, but I'm interested. Okay, so we're kind of getting one of everything in here. The science ship is going to investigate the L gate.
System resources
I don't know
analyzed.
what's causing that, but this is an awesome bug, which I never want to go away. Avorion, can you give me an elevator pitch? I mean, let's just keep in mind here, guys. We're outside of a black hole called the Howling Vortex. I'm sure if I get close to this thing, it's gonna make the screen go blue again. We've got a broken world here. Something caused this world to be this way. And we're about to open a doorway that we don't know what comes out. So it's possible that we're setting ourselves up for a world of
System
hurt.
resources analyzed.
Oh, interesting. Yes, a Death Star took a bite out of it. Looks like we're back on track with the rare crystals, which is good. We've discovered a new archaeological site in Sim 5. All right, not likely that we're going to get that, so. It's an open-ended content space game. You get to build your own ship, gather resources, forge alliances, and solve the mysteries plaguing the galaxy. And Sungift now wants an apple. I got an orange, but no apple. Unless you count a computer, which nobody means when they say apple. I don't even know why I mentioned it. And pew 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 pew. Or possibly you are referring to my pew 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 pew, which may or may not be happening in the next little bit. Okay, Craxima Prime. We still have an Empire to run, so even though we're opening the L gate, there's still stuff that needs to get taken care of. So Generator World has one of everything that I want. I might eventually want to put some kind of consumer goods, but I think the higher priority at the moment is research. So it's already got crystalline caverns. Let's drop a research lab. So that's going to cover 2 jobs. I need 5, so we've got a total of 3. 2 bureaucrat jobs will round it out. Wait, I only get 1, don't I? No, we get 2 clerk jobs. Job well done. Back to watching the pot or kettle boil. What do you guys think will come out? If you've played Stellaris, you're not allowed to answer. As cool as I think this effect is, it is actually a little annoying now that I want to try and build some some sense for it.
Construction finalized.
Looks like we are continuing our conquest, so on to the Sheliak system. Now, it's worth remembering, I'm actually going to need to fill in all of these gaps at some point, but again, it's fairly, I think it's a defensible strategy for me to, what are we at? Yeah, we're not gonna be anywhere near the cohesion loss that I'm worried about. In this case, I'm justifying the snake, 1, because who's going to contest me? And number 2, I do kind of want to focus on getting Aculum. The other stuff, the AI could take me like right up to Fatus if they really want. I wouldn't be too pleased about it, but I'd say fair enough. But in the case of okay, that's particularly wild. In the case of
Our research has progressed.
my exotic gases choke point, I kind of want that. Okay, Research Institute, a bid for interplanetary resource pools and more flexible research grants. This is a big deal for me. So I can only build 1 per planet, costs 5 energy, so it's not cheap, but it improves. So on its own, bonus 15% research output, you get 1 science director. Science director produces amenities and 5 research each. So let's, I'm just going to pick a tech. Advanced research complexes seems kind of cool, but I actually need to start catching up with rivals in terms of weaponry. So let's go for plasma accelerators. And I'm going to give you an example about why I'm so excited about this. So, perfect example here. What are we generating in terms of tech? 43, 43, 47. Add 5 to those for the science administrator. We're essentially at 48. So a 15% bonus, well, you're looking at about another 6. So realistically, what that building is going to be giving me is another 8 science for the planet. Of course, it's also worth keeping in mind that I'm paying 20% less for these researchers than I would anywhere else in the system, and this is already kind of accounted for in terms of these numbers, but because the leader's an intellectual, there's also a 10% bonus towards doing all of this different research. Now, on top of that, essentially all that I'm going to be building on this world from now on are research complexes, and I'm going to continue to upgrade them. So in this case here, this is eventually going to go from producing 8 to producing 20. So it's not just that I'm going to be producing an additional 12 research when this thing is fully staffed. It's going to be 12 plus the 10% from the governor, plus the 15% from the research center. And I get to apply that on every single one of these worlds in my system here. So that's why that was such a high priority for me to get. Now, we are getting short on consumer goods. There is an argument for, where is it? Ministry of Production will improve artisan output by 15%. So in this particular case, I want to do that. My output is 98, so I'm essentially adding 15% on its own. So Ministry of Production is kind of a first priority. I think also on my Forge world, I'll also be doing that. But that was the reason I went for that particular one as well. Again, we're at the point now where, because we were able to get I could have done better specialization early on in this playthrough, but because we positioned ourselves reasonably well, some of the specializations that I'm going to be taking advantage of will, I'm getting the technologies at exactly the point where they're going to start having the most impact. All right, Sungif says you want to play Stellaris, but it won't work in 1024. Oh, I didn't know that. You've been getting into Total Warhammer, though. Good stuff. I've actually, Total Warhammer, I'm starting to finally get a toehold into. Velkin says, your turn to give you a pitch, Chalk. Let's pretend you have 5 days in Canada. What do you want to see? Well, what part of Canada are you going to be in, Velkin? Because Canada is a very broad place. I got a chance to meet someone involved with games, which was very cool. But I think they originally didn't want to say anything in terms of availability because they knew that Canada was very large. So saying that I'm going to be in Canada, could mean I'm coming to Canada, we should hang out. Do you mind taking a 5-day train trip? Or it could mean I'm coming to your city. Oh, very cool, Sungif. It's a wonderful game, so I hope you get a chance to play it. All right, the L gate's coming open in 96, 7, 98, 99. Thank you everybody for watching. Stellaris is coming on next week. The game has already been saved. I am 43 minutes over, so I really dragged that out. But the plans that we have for next game, obviously we have to contend with whatever's coming out of the L Gate, if anything comes out of the L Gate. You only have 15 hours in Stellaris, mostly because of you. I hope there were 15 fun-filled hours, Sungif. If they weren't, let me know. I'll do my best to try and answer any questions that you might have as a result. We managed to get our alloys where we wanted them. In fact, our fleet in general is getting closer to where we want. We're not at the fleet cap, but we're well on our way to sort of being able to fill in those gaps. We are also in sort of a position where I should be able to upgrade and build out some defensive platforms over time. There are 15 hours of flailing, but you're learning. That's one of the things that really keeps me coming back to Stellaris, honestly, or any of the Paradox games, is that they're very rewarding in the sense that I'm making some progress. Some people like roguelikes because they'll keep unlocking little things as you go along. That was one thing I really liked about Risk of Rain. As you kept playing the games, you'd get new things that made you stronger. FTL is a bit like that too. But in the case of Stellaris and Europa Universalis, what's really rewarding about these, and Crusader Kings as well, but Crusader Kings is almost kind of like hard to learn, easy to master is kind of like the best way of summarizing it. But the thing that I think keeps me coming back to these games is the fact that it's very obvious that I don't know everything about them. And there's always sort of a new thing to learn. And so instead of it being that, oh, you've played 2,000 hours, you've got, 100 new items, and if you play for, another 50 hours or whatever, on your next playthrough, you'll unlock the God Ray, the planet destroyer. Instead, it's the same game each time. I mean, obviously you can change some parameters in terms of what the world is like. But the basic idea is that, if you're playing one of the historical games, you have the state of the world in the time period that you pick. Or in Stellaris, you have the dawn of, interstellar travel. And despite that, there's always going to be a particular set of challenges. If you want, you can also just sort of figure out your strategy and then just kind of go and slap around the AI for a while. But I don't find that quite as rewarding. Like for me, in terms of Europa Universalis 4, I actually have the same start over and over again. I always play as Holland. But all of my Holland games have been different because I always like trying out new things. And I think that's one of the reasons why these games become so rewarding. Obviously, that doesn't come out of, thin air. These games are very well maintained. As you can see, we've got version 2.3.3, Wolf. I think we're coming on to 3 years of Stellaris soon. But it's a really rewarding game. It's not just that there's enough complexity that you learn something new each time you play it. It's the fact that while you're learning, the development team is sort of adding new rooms to this mansion, or they're looking at some of the things that maybe didn't quite work the way that they'd intended. It's one of the reasons why I was so optimistic for Imperator, as much as I enjoyed it on its own. If you want an idea in terms of what Stellaris was like the first time you played it, you can actually go onto Steam, you can go into the beta branches, and you can go back and play version 1.0, and you can see what a completely different game this was. And I still loved playing Stellaris. In fact, I think Stellaris was the very first Paradox game where I actually got an early copy. So it's a particularly special game for this stream. But yeah, it's a wonderful game. It's one that rewards lots of playtime. But that's also the cost, right? Is that if you're not willing to put that time in, then it can become frustrating and it may not be appropriate. But I definitely think that there's a lot to pull out of it. Velkin, I don't actually see any other details in terms of where you're going to. So if you want want me to answer questions about Canada, feel free to drop them in the Discord. I always read it. But yeah, I can't give just a blanket recommendation for Canada because it's I think the number of days that you're there would probably be the time that it takes you to go from coast to coast. And of course, there's 3 coasts to Canada, but to go from the Pacific to the Atlantic coast would probably take you your entire trip. But Galev said you'd love to watch a Holland game. You've been curious how smaller European powers play. I mean, I actually do get that. The opening for Holland is a pretty straightforward one because you can almost always find alliances to sort of get you out of Burgundy, but that's not your only option. Obviously, that's not the way history went. But that's probably a chat for another time. Let me just take a quick minute and see if I can find somebody online. We have got... Oh, actually, there's a lot of people online. I almost hosted Rift Tracks. As much as I like Rift Tracks. You know what? I don't get a chance to host him as often as I like. Octavian Zero is a very nice kind of professional streamer. He does a lot of Path of Exile. I've actually played ever so little of the game as a result of him, and I'm sure I'll play a little bit more. But Octavian has given me some wonderful hosts and some very nice comments on some of my Assassin's Creed playthroughs and things like that. So it's always nice to give you guys a chance to take a look at his stuff. He certainly does not need the attention from me, but he is somebody I'd like a chance to sort of introduce you to, especially because The Eyes of Sin was the one to introduce him to me and me to him. So I think that's a fine one to leave it off on. Thank you everybody for watching. We will be, I mean, part of this too is to give you all an incentive. I'll be trying to start as close to 7 as I can next week. So if you want to see what lies behind the L gate, be sure to show up right at the start. I'll obviously do like my usual 10 minutes or so to give people a chance to come in, but there will be needless to say, there will be L gates opening. The plan will be to deal with anything that comes out on the other side, get to our fleet cap, secure our position in terms of the resources and whatnot, and then just look to try and leverage our technological advantage to a point where we can either subjugate a neighbor or where we feel that we're confident enough to be able to take on some of the stronger empires, that we can start pushing our, throwing our weight around a little bit and pushing our demands. So, do you do any history buff runs? Yeah, actually. And I'm not entirely done with Assassin's Creed either, so that might be coming up in the future, Sungif, but I'm going to keep that under my hat for now, and instead I'm going to leave you all in the capable hands of Octavian Zero. Do feel free to drop that message inside there. I think he tolerates me enough to be able to stand it. And until next time, have a wonderful evening. We'll see you guys next time. Oh, Elder Scrolls will be on tomorrow, and Cultist Simulator is back on track for Wednesday. No word yet as to whether or not Surviving Mars is up on Thursday. I'll announce that on Twitter if I can record it tomorrow. Goodbye for real.